Everything on fast forward. Good morning and welcome to another episode of Around the Indoor Football World. We are back with a ton to talk about today. It's not quite as packed as last week's episode, but we got a very special guest interview that was pre-recorded last night with head coach of the San Diego Strike Force, Taylor Genuizer. Very excited to play that one for you guys at the end of this episode. We've also got a lot to talk about, including teams looking at 2027 expansion, a former indoor football quarterback who's now a coach, as well as we'll review or preview a couple AAL games and talk about a ton of NAL and IFL transaction news going into the playoff run. But before we get into that, you guys know how we do it. I wake you up with a little bit of metal in the morning. All right. As always, we are joined by our great panel here. To my left, right, Krish is, with us every week. Krish, how are you doing this morning?
Doing good. Best day of the week, game day. So excited for it, for sure.
Absolutely. Krish is, if you have not watched this show and you're just joining us for the first time, Krish is honestly one of the bright young minds in indoor football coverage. Very excited to have him on the show once again, of course, as always. Below him, we've got Cody, who runs the YouTube channel In the Alley, does a lot of great IFL coverage if you have not heard of him. Cody, how are you doing this morning?
Doing all right. Can't complain. The music isn't necessarily Ivana or Poppy, but I'll still take the metal music. We always get that going over here.
Absolutely. I know that's one thing you and I share. And it's also something TJ shares. He's a big metal fan as well. TJ, I guess a good way to introduce you this morning would probably be the editor coordinator of the new Shady Sports Network magazine that's going to be coming out pretty soon. Very excited about how that's moving along and cannot wait until we get to see the first iteration of that. But TJ, how are you doing this morning, man?
Oh man, I'm doing fantastic, and I guess some mini breaking news real quick for the fans. The magazine did secure its first sponsor last night, so things are moving in the right direction.
Absolutely, and we won't quite say who that is quite yet, just yet, but don't worry, it'll be coming out very soon. We're very excited, and it's somebody who's been a big supporter of the network for a long time. And, we're just kind of taking that support to the next level, which, we've talked about for a while. And this seemed like, I guess, the perfect opportunity for him. And it's working out well so far, or it's going to work out great. So I'm very excited for today's episode. As I mentioned before, we're going to talk about a little potential expansion. If you followed indoor football or arena football for any length of time, you've probably heard the name Casey Smith kicking around multiple times. He was previously the co-owner of the Columbus Lions. He is now looking to launch a new team, probably for the 2027 season, although he has not specified that. It would not shock me if this gets pushed out to like 2028 to make sure he has everything in a row. But with that being said, he made a post in a Douglasville group as well as a Chattanooga group. So it kind of seems like he's trying to stay semi-close to that Georgia region while being in Tennessee. So I'm curious of your guys' thoughts on these two markets in particular. And then also, what's your level of excitement with a guy like Casey Smith, who has helped establish a brand like the Lions, who's going out and now forming another team? Let's go to Krish on this first.
It's exciting, obviously, to have someone with ownership experience try to get a new team, but he's going to face the same challenges as anybody else would, right? So, I think he has to be very diligent with how he moves forward in the process, and I think if he does that, he'll be successful.
I think that's a fair point for sure, and I think that's one of the things that he should kind of be known for. In the way that the Lions moved prior to, Roger Beck coming on board and him selling his stake in the Lions. But Cody, what are your thoughts on Casey Smith and then also those two markets that he's looking at specifically?
Yeah, I mean, it's always a good idea to throw expansion out there and gauge interest and stuff like that. I don't want to try and poo-poo it already, but just because you build it or create it does not mean that it will necessarily happen. Unfortunately, at least in this realm. Now, again, not trying to poo-poo on it or anything like that. The two locations seem to be, I don't want to say hotbeds by any means, but you're starting to see this migration towards that southeast. And if a lot of people are interested, I mean, I can't necessarily say no, but it's just time will tell. We've got teams in Grand Island, Nebraska. We've got teams in Monroe, Louisiana. We have teams all the way out in the desert. We've got teams in the Northeast. So, I mean, as long as the ownership is there, as long as it's stable and you can attract the fans and the arena is up to, the amenities and everything that they have, it shouldn't necessarily be an issue, to be honest. But again, just because it's there doesn't mean people will show up. You got to market and promote the hell out of your product.
That's fair. That's fair. And I think that is one area that the Lions have improved on under Beck's ownership. And maybe that is something to kind of track and watch, if Casey Smith does make this happen. I will throw this out here to TJ before I ask him the same question. Casey has also mentioned in these posts that he's looking to potentially bring in partner owners, not necessarily be the sole owner of the team, which I think is always probably a good idea, split the cost of everything out and divvy it up over a group rather than having to stomach it all yourself. But TJ, what are your thoughts on Casey Smith and these two markets in particular?
I mean, I like it. You get guys all the time that are new ownership, and everything else, but he actually has some good past at building a team up. So I think it's exciting for the sport because it should be a good team that he brings in as well. And obviously, the Lions are in great hands with Beck at the ownership helm. So, I mean, you make it another great team in that southern area. It would be awesome for the sport and for whichever league he would join.
Completely agree on that front. Now, you have to wonder immediately, like, if Casey's looking at potentially doing this, is he looking at the AAL, right? I mean, at that point, I mean, you have to wonder, considering he's looking at Georgia, he's looking at Tennessee. Both of those areas are obviously, very close to Columbus in terms of travel. So that's got to be an attractive factor. And then also we kind of know, we don't know exactly where it's going to be, but we know there's going to be another expansion team in 2027 in the Southeast as well, which can only help that. And then you figure Mississippi's down there as well. So could be a very advantageous situation if you're looking at the Southeast for AAL. And we also know Casey's got deep ties to the NAL. So, that could be another league that he looks at, in the future. So just kind of give a little bit of background. Douglasville has a population of about 40,000. So that is kind of a little bit of a concern. I think when you're looking at the overall scheme of things, do they really have the population to support a team? Chattanooga, however, is about 200,000. I don't know that the arena availability there is maybe, completely advantageous to a team. I haven't really done that much research on the market quite yet. But either way, I would say that if Casey's looking into it, he's going to, first of all, do all of his research before he gets into something. He's not going to jump in with both feet until he knows for sure he can handle it and he has the right team in place. So I personally am very excited for this. I think Casey's a guy that understands the intricacies of the game. He understands the difficulties of launching a new franchise, and then also, the pitfalls of a new market entirely. So I think that there's a lot worse people out there in the world to potentially own a new team in the coming season. But we're going to pivot a little bit. We're going to talk about the Arena League because, as I prefaced to this a moment ago, a former indoor football quarterback that we've had on this show at one point, quarterback Mike Pina, is now going to be hired as a coach with the Nebraska Siege. Now, I thought this was an interesting move. Mike Pina previously played for teams like the Gillette Mustangs. I think he was briefly with the Southwest Kansas Storm. There's a couple, I think there was at least one or two other teams in there throughout his run in indoor football. He played a little bit overseas as well. Pina had coached on the side, but now he takes on a professional coaching role. So Let's go to TJ on this one. What are your thoughts about Pina making the transition to coaching?
I think it's an awesome story, man. You show up to a tryout and you're trying to, ink it out for another year or two as a player, and you don't make it as an elder statesman, I'll say, but they offer you at the tryout a coaching position. That's awesome, man. That's kind of what the dreams are made of. That's kind of what the sport is all about, right? Opportunity where elsewhere you wouldn't get that chance. I just love it, man. It's got a lot of Vince Papale vibes, if you will. I know you'll like that being a Philly fan. So, but yeah, man, I like it. I think it's awesome, and it'll be interesting to see how he fits into the role, and transitions full time from being a player to full time coach.
Agreed. Cody, any thoughts on this one?
Yeah, it's a really cool story, and they're doing something that some team, like plenty of teams have done in the past, but we've talked probably multiple times on these shows. Like, it's almost a revolving door of coaches in a sense, where like one coach gets let go and then he gets hired on either to another league or another team within the same league or whatever. So taking that chance, you're gonna need someone else to like take the reins eventually. We got to get younger coaches. We've got to get coaches, and I know it's going to sound bad, but we need coaches that don't have a lot of experience. They're going to have to find out how to get that experience either through coordinators or, assistants or analysts or whatever. So this is a good idea to try and break the mold a little bit. If it doesn't work, egg on your face. If it does work, you got like another Sean McVay type, hey, coaching tree, young guy thing going on. So it's pretty cool. I can't lie.
I like that point there. Krish, any thoughts on Pina?
Yeah, Mike, he's a local coach here, with the college football teams and stuff. So he has a lot of experience. He runs his own quarterback training company. He does a great job and makes a ton of money with that. He was a little kind of greedy after he went to Wyoming. He wanted more money. So he kind of ended his football career himself, So now he went for a tryout. He's too old and washed up. So I'm glad he realizes, he needs to take the next step in his journey, and I think he'll do a great job.
I don't know that I'm ready to call him washed up. Obviously, it's been a little while since we've seen him play, but
if you make it through a TAL tryout, like it's time to.
Here's the thing, though. Do we know that he didn't make it through, or that he didn't necessarily, play decently? I mean, they signed Caleb Holbrook, he's been kicking around for a while. So, on that note, I mean, I don't necessarily know that Pina is necessarily too old, but I think that part of why this happens is Pina's background as a coach, as you mentioned. So I think with that in the back of their minds, this transition for him makes a lot of sense. It's going to be natural. He already understands the coaching nuances. So I'm actually very excited to see how this team comes together. I know I told you guys the other day in the chat that I think this is probably my early front runner for a championship team in the TAL. I'm not saying they're going to win, but I could see them being there just based on the roster that they've built. So on that note, let's kind of talk a little bit about the roster that they've brought together. And I actually have a visual for this morning. Came a little bit prepared. So here is the roster that they have assembled as of right now. A little bit linebacker heavy, and I'm sure there's probably a reason behind that. And obviously it's not complete yet. They're not 100% built out on the offense, but just going to go around the horn real quick. Is there any player on this list for you, Krish, that you're surprised to see, excited for, overall?
I mean, obviously, the two that stick out immediately is Keon Mosey and Kevin Davis, right? The 2,000-yard star-studded rushers from Miami, Ohio. They're definitely paying them. There's no way they would come and play in the Arena League if they weren't getting paid. Those are two guys who can play in the IFL today. Those are high-level, really high-level guys. So excited for them. I think they'll dominate the 7-man style of play. And then, I mean, not really. I mean, Sarda, Nixon was a solid linebacker in college. Who else? But yeah, that's about it. Those two, really. And then Robert Majors, he has experience in the AIF with Cedar Rapids, a little bit in the AF1, so that's a good pickup, too.
Cody, any thoughts on this roster? I know you have an affinity for the Cornhuskers, who you might or might not see in the background there.
Yeah, I mean, the one that kind of sticks out to me is Jaron Myers. I mean, him and Caleb Holbrook, whether or not Myers is going to be that backup quarterback or like that do it all Swiss Army knife kind of guy like we've seen in so many different leagues or anything like that. But I don't know. He's the brother to DJ Myers. Am I correct?
No,
No.
Who am I thinking of? Guy Myers. My bad.
Guy Myers. Yeah.
I get my Myers mixed up. But either way, Jaron Myers still very, very good because I was thinking of Guy Myers with San Antonio, but no, Jaron Myers, former indoor. Duh. All right, so yeah, Jaron Myers. I don't know if he can beat Holbrook out, but I think he can give him enough competition when it comes to that. I like this roster, but again, there's some question marks that I have with it. The running game should be fine. But like you mentioned, Sam, it's pretty linebacker heavy. Whether or not there's a strategy with that, if they're going to do more of a hybrid kind of, hey, the linebackers do play in the secondary, and we've seen that in other leagues as well, I'm not necessarily sure because obviously this is 7-on-7, completely different rules, things along those lines. So I'm wondering if they're trying to do like a bigger secondary that can be more bruising instead of more coverage. I don't know, but I'm curious to see how it kind of goes.
Fair point. Cody. TJ, any thoughts on this roster?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how Caleb Holbrook does. Obviously, the connection with the Duke City Gladiators, and he's been around for a while, so I'll be interested to see how we can kind of play and adapt to a slightly different style league.
No, that makes perfect sense. I mean, obviously, he's got that previous connection with Dominic Bramante, so he kind of already knows the scheme for the most part. Obviously, going to be different in the TAL. But wanted to highlight that roster because, like I said, I'm very encouraged by how they're building this roster. If you've watched the show for any length of time, you guys know I'm a roster building nerd. So I kind of look at the way these players are going to fit. And Krish hit the nail on the head in my mind when he's talking about Keon Mosey and Kevin Davis, because those guys are both smaller running backs that can split out. They can play some wide receiver. They can do some of that jet sweep game. They can get involved and get in space and be very, very dangerous, which that's kind of the whole TAL point, right, is to get players into space and let them operate in the open field. So I think if you split these guys out at wide receiver and you put a guy like Elijah Gray in the backfield, who's that 5'9", 225-pound back that can pound it between the tackles, suddenly you have a pretty tough lineup to defend, especially when you have a guy like Robert Majors outside who can give you some size, some length out there that can just create mismatches that defensive backs simply cannot beat. So I'm very excited about this offense. Like I mentioned before, very excited about the team in general. I said it's linebacker heavy, but the more I kind of think about the way the TAL plays, the more I thought about Cody's comments on playing linebackers in the secondary. We could potentially see a situation where they play linebackers in the secondary at linebacker and then also maybe even on the defensive line, because we're talking about a situation where realistically you're going one-on-one against a center. You could theoretically beat that guy pretty quickly if you're a twitchier pass rusher. So very, very encouraged by what they've built so far. Very excited to see it all come together. But we're not done with the TAL. There's been kind of a lot of news coming out of them. And the big news, you may have heard last week when we had Terry Bowden on that he was looking for a defensive coordinator. Well, apparently that call has been answered by Coach James Shiver, who was also ironically supposed to be on last week's show to talk about his accepting of the Bayou Bucks head coaching position for the 2027 season. So essentially, not only did the Monroe Greenheads end up with one head coach on the offensive side of the ball in Terry Bowden, but they now have James Shiver, who's essentially another head coach on the defensive side of the ball. So let's go to TJ first on this one. What are your thoughts on Coach Shiver joining Bowden and Monroe?
Man, I really like it. He's a great coach, great guy. He went through a lot at previous stops. Obviously, we all know what happened to the imitation AFL, as I call it now. With the whole voodoo situation going on, and it just got real messy there. But no, I mean, he's a great coach. I think that it's a great signing, and I think that their defense is going to definitely get picked up by having him on staff. Uh, he's got the experience and the leadership to definitely take them over the top.
Agreed. Krish, I know you had some interesting thoughts on this thought, and I'm just going to give you the floor to kind of posit your thoughts.
Yeah, no, look, it's a good community hire. Coach Shiver is a really, really good person. He does a lot for the high school over there. He was the AD and head coach. He coached the number 1 running back in the country this past year. He committed to LSU. So obviously, I think it's good for that. I don't think they'll have a good season. I don't. I don't think they'll be able to bring in high level talent. I think, listening to Coach last week, he kind of realized the fact that they might not be good this year. So it's going to be a long learning curve for them, and I don't think they'll be able to get over it. So, it's a good hire. It'll get more fans in the stands. It'll give Coach Shiver some more hands-on experience, but it's going to be a long season for them. So.
Interesting take. Can I ask why you thought that Bowden thought he wasn't going to be good?
Well, this comment highlights it perfectly by, Brian, about them getting started too late, right? Like, he won't obviously come on the show and say it, but they're going to sign majority of tryout guys, right? The guys who come to tryouts are basically going to make the team because they're desperate. And so desperation gets you killed in pro sports. So that's all it really it is.
That's a fair point. I would say that I think bringing in Shiver has some value on that front as well. We know in that Louisiana Voodoo team was primarily built locally through Louisiana players.
Locally, but it was built locally with guys who were playing for $1,000 a game. So now it wasn't necessarily a relationship built; it was money built, right? So call those guys and try to convince them to come and play for $250. It's going to be a little bit of a hard time.
Keep in mind what Shiver was able to do in Louisiana with no budget. And those players never got paid that $1,000 a game. So, to be fair, I don't necessarily think that any of them are going to be expecting $1,000 a game. Now, might they hold some bad feelings about that? Absolutely. But I don't think that anybody's necessarily going to turn him down if they're living there in Louisiana and they know this is probably a lot more stable situation in a league that has been around for a couple of years. Cody, what are your thoughts on this move for the Monroe?
It's kind of a mixed bag because I kind of agree with Krish, which is crazy. But at the same time, I kind of agree with TJ in the sense where it's like you have all this added veteran coaching, but to Brian's credit, did they get started too late? I don't know if they have any players signed. The season's right around the corner. And yeah, desperation will get you killed. But that doesn't stop teams from still getting wins. So I'm not fully out on it just yet. But at the same time, they definitely have their work cut out for them. It doesn't mean they can't find those diamonds in the rough for those guys. There's going to be guys that play games. It's the reason why they signed them. But I do kind of agree with Krish. Is it going to be good? I'm leaning no, but you never know. I want to kind of give a little bit of a benefit of the doubt. But at the same time, I'm not going to rake these guys over the coals. It's mismanagement. We all know that. But you just have to kind of go from there. They have to start somewhere, and they're starting very late.
Look at your boy as an example, right? Down in the Ozarks. Great guy. What's his record as a high school coach? 12-47, I think, right? So, great people sometimes don't win football games.
Once again, Krish has it in mind that all of a sudden me and the head coach of the Lunkers are best friends because I met him once and had one conversation with him. Have not talked to him since. We're supposed to have him on at some point, but I haven't tried to arrange that yet. So on that note, great guy, in my opinion, super nice guy. Did a lot of hands-on scouting, so I kind of give him credit for how he's built that team as well. But Krish has a point. Krish has a point. Great people are awesome to have around the game, but at the same time, being a good person alone does not win you games. So definitely there is a point there, even though Krish sometimes says it in kind of a goofy way. But on that note, we're going to move on to the AAL, kind of talk about a couple different things with this league. And one of the main things that, had one more TAL topic that I wanted to bring up, but the Hound Dogs have started to make some moves We were talking about the fact that they were also behind the 8 ball a little bit. They got a GM hired very quickly after, announced a head coach, and now they've started to roll in some of the players on the roster moving forward as well. So, great to see some moves from some of these TAL teams now. Yes, Monroe's very behind the 8 ball there, but luckily Louisiana is kind of a hotbed for football players, so I think they'll be able to find plenty of talent and maybe even able to pick up some of the guys coming out of the NAL and IFL as their seasons end, which Coach Bowden spoke about here last week. So now moving on to the AAL, there wasn't really much to talk about on that topic. First, before we get into the AAL, I wanted to prompt everybody in the chat right now to kind of give your guesses on who the teased AAL expansion team could be for 2027 that the teaser that we played last week. And in fact, let me just take a moment to play that one more time for everybody in case you did not see it. All right, so while we're talking about the AL, give your guesses in the chat about where this team might be, located, and if you have a guess on the team name, go ahead and give that as well, because I'm curious what you guys have to say on that note. But we're going to do a quick preview about the AL games coming up this weekend. We've got Wheeling at Mississippi and Columbus at New Jersey, both of which should be pretty good games. Wheeling's definitely exceeded some expectations. Ben McToy, if you're watching, we're paying attention, buddy. The team's doing great. Hopefully they can get another win tonight, although Mississippi, it'd be nice to see them rebound in front of their home crowd. But we'll toss this one to TJ first. And TJ, it's kind of up to you, man. If you want to do both games real quick, that's cool. If you want to do one and then pass it over, that's cool as well. Your choice.
Yes. What are the games again? Sorry.
You're good. Wheeling at Mississippi, Columbus at New Jersey.
Yeah, I've coached against Jersey before, but man, Columbus, man, they're really tough looking. There, I think it's going to be a better game than most people or than some people may think, but I think Columbus is going to come into Jersey and leave with a victory in that first matchup.
Fair point. Any thoughts on Wheeling in Mississippi?
Man, that game, first off, I think, Wheeling, I think Wheeling is going into the game looking like they should win, obviously. I'm more or less looking for Mississippi to kind of rebound and show some life here after, a tough start to the season. But I think Wheeling's going to ultimately walk away with that one as well.
All right. So it sounds like the top two teams seem to remain at the top in TJ's predictions here. Krish, what are your thoughts on these two games?
Yeah, I mean, respect to Mississippi. They're the doormat of the league. They're set up, the team on the field, everything about that organization is a dumpster fire. I feel really bad for Coach Strong because I know how much he tries. He tries so hard, man. Like that. He just needs some help. He really does. He needs some people to try to help him out down there because he doesn't have enough support in Mississippi. So I think Wheeling can win by about 30 points. I mean, Daryl Clark, the way he's come back, man, out of retirement, he looks amazing. Last week he threw five or seven touchdowns. He played really good. AC's been looking good. Isaiah Robinson, it's a top, 2 receiver, or maybe even the best receiver in the league. So I think they'll win by a lot. So I say like 30 points. I've been saying this for years. Like, I love Coach AJ down in New Jersey, right? But today we really get to see how tough that program is. Can he really step in the box and go toe-to-toe with a top level program? And I don't think he'll be able to, honestly. So give me Columbus by 20 points today. Yep. That D line is too tough, man. Like y'all underestimate that D line. Like that D line is insane. So
Absolutely. You're not wrong. Not wrong. Oh Lord. Guess Mississippi is going to have some key guys back. He'll be closer than most think. Okay. Definitely would trust Matt on some of this. He's definitely been paying close attention to the AAL. Eddie is building up in a burnt market and doing all he can to make it viable on and off-field product. I definitely think he needs some help and some assistance there. And I think hopefully at some point he'll get it. Big speaker errors. Don't sleep on the Memphis Hound Dogs. Trust me, Coach. We are not. We are definitely excited to see what they're building as well. The O-line D-line matchup will decide how close Jersey Columbus is. Absolutely. And then a couple comments here. Nicole checking in, saying good morning. Thank you for tuning in, Nicole. We appreciate it. Brian says setting up for next year's team in terms of James Shiver joining the Greenheads, which I think there's some smart ideas there for him. Go Bucks. Ricky says I could just answer it, but I won't. Yeah, let's not give it away. Come on, Ricky. That kind of takes away from the fun of it. Brian says I know, and Brian may or may not know. We'll keep that between him and I. Triple McGee says Tampa Bay. That would be a really, really good location to add, and I think they are kind of begging for another arena team at some point. Would love to see that. Krish counter is now at 4. And then if you have not done so already, make sure to hit the like button. Anyone else think they need to bring the Pirates back home? Jesus.
it's great to see you.
Lord.
Yeah.
William, I don't know if you're new here, my friend, but you just opened a whole can of worms.
No.
A whole 2-hour show.
He's
The show just went off the rails now. Oh boy.
No. He was a huge Pirates fan, like me, and he was at every single game, and so it's good to see you in the chat. Obviously, I think every market can be built back up with good ownership, but I mean it'll be hard for me to support another brand other than the Pirates. So that's me.
But they have the banner in the airport. We've talked about that ad nauseum last week.
Yeah, they do. Yeah. I mean,
Do you want to put another banner up there?
yeah,
Come back.
But you won't support that banner if it's a different team, correct?
Yes.
Okay, cool. I just figured. Okay, one true banner to rule them all.
Yeah.
I just have to throw this out there. That it's got to be tough from a fan's perspective, like having your team go away and then, in Krish's words, not being willing to support anybody who comes back unless it's the initial team. Like that's got to be a tough situation to be in for you.
Well, I know if we get another team back, the likelihood of them being the indoor football league, will be low. So, like I'm just being honest, we'll probably be in another league. So, yeah, that's it.
So you only want them if they're in the IFL?
No, I'll still go to games, but I won't be like a fan, like really like supporting like that. Like, cut me open, I bleed blue and teal, right? That's my team. So
I heard
if anything,
I heard there might be an IAL team joining from Massachusetts.
Okay, I wouldn't support that either. Like,
what are your thoughts, really quick, before we get even further off the rails? If they do put a team at the American Dream Mall, would you support that, even though it's all the way down in New Jersey, or is it just Massachusetts only?
if we played them, yeah, of course. If Orlando went up and played that team, of course I would go.
But you wouldn't support them in case?
I mean, I would watch. I wouldn't go. No.
Okay, fair enough. That's not like a shot or anything. My tone was bad with that. I'm sorry, but I was just okay.
No, of course I could go to every Albany game, but I don't support the way Jeff Levesque acts online. So I don't support that.
All right. That's
prefers to game musical chairs.
Oh Lord, we could go on for days about that, but let's go Lions. Roger back.
Hey, how about that flight? Mr. Vet put the team on.
Yeah.
Legit. Yeah.
Speaking of which, I have pictures of that. I should have come prepared for that, but we'll definitely.
Like that's crazy.
Well, and that's again. I want to throw this out here. I'm not trying to loud on Roger and make him it seem like a better person than he is or anything like that. I mean, this is just, again, a story that we saw firsthand at the draft. But, there was a young kid there in his early 20s. He had made the bus ride 20-plus hours from Michigan all the way down to Columbus to be at the draft in person. Didn't know if he was going to be selected. Luckily, ended up being selected on the day. But Roger, for no reason other than he felt like it was the right thing to do, paid for a plane ticket for that young man to fly back. And he did it very quietly. He wasn't looking for an audience or anything like that. It wasn't like he wanted the notoriety behind it and, was hoping cameras caught it or anything like that. It was just a really cool move by someone who I have even more respect for now after meeting him in person than I did going into it. And I respected him quite highly beforehand. So Roger's just a stand-up human being, and I'm very, very glad that the Lions are in such good hands. So he wants nothing but the best for the people who are working with him and supporting him. So Quentin Humphrey, good morning, everyone. Tuning in, Texas Wildhawks. While on the subject, Aviators, Peach State Cats is going to be a hell of a matchup in the AAL too. Yes, it will be. Carolina's a good team. If they go away, Krish would support Vegas. Krish is the fan we would all want. Absolutely. I say that all the time. I mean, he is ride or die without a doubt, no matter what. I respect that. Fan equals fanatics. You can't be a fanatic of every team. I love that.
Omaha.
And one thing about William Roberts is like he's very honest about the team. Like he's always commenting. He's always stating facts. And that's what I appreciate about someone like him, and the honesty. Not hiding how he really feels. I think every fan should have that level of honesty and transparency. And also, like, if my team went away, I don't know if I would support Vegas. I don't know if I could support that yet. It would take me time, but I'm not even thinking about that. I mean, I'm thinking about Coach D. He'll be retiring after we get done with him in 9 days. So, like, that's
wow. Okay.
my thought process. So.
Hey, as the number 3 ranked coach pusher, I have some tips on how you can push him.
We'll get to that later in the show for sure. And we may have even discussed that with, our interview at the end that you guys can check out. So again, if you're just tuning in, stay tuned till the end. We have an interview that was pre-recorded last night with Taylor Genuser. I probably mispronounced that again, but Taylor, Coach TG, as he put it, from San Diego Strike Force. So definitely excited to have that with us today. He had some thoughts on that whole situation that he will mention in the interview later on. William, if you want to subscribe to us and check out this show every Saturday, you can catch it right here on Facebook. Follow us here, or you can jump over to the YouTube and subscribe there. If you prefer to watch Twitter, we're on LinkedIn and Twitch as well. So really, wherever you want to catch us, we're there every Saturday. Facebook is great too. We like Facebook as well. So if you want to watch on Facebook, that's perfectly great. Gen user equals Jen Sir. At least that's how I pronounce it. Jennifer. Got it. And I'm pretty sure that's how I pronounced it last night. For whatever reason, I cannot get that through my head. Krish, man, it's just not the same, man. Miss seeing you on those coin tosses. Roger Beck is genuinely a great person. I had to get something from the car pregame, and Mr. Beck was coming inside. Most owners would just walk by and not introduce themselves to a high schooler like me. 100%, especially since I'm a team manager for the River Gators. I love it. Yeah, that's correct. And done. Thank you. Well, we appreciate the support, William.
I told you that team, when that Columbus Lions team win the championship, he's going to have the biggest parade ever. Like, it's going to be crazy. I agree.
And I think it'll be really cool to see exactly how that all works out for his team and for him, because, they've got some great community partnerships down there.
Like Mississippi won a championship, they would just put up a poster board and call it a day. But, there's levels, right? So.
Hey, Chris, just curious. How are you commenting on the setup for Mississippi this year? Just curious. How many home games have they played this year so far?
1. No, 2.
0. This is their first home game.
You got to look at that. No, they played Jersey at home.
I don't think that's correct, but I'll double check on that.
Correct. And they played the preseason game.
Oh, actually, you're right. They're right. So they played one game at home, and you're completely judging off that one game. I forgot. You're right. You're right. That was right.
I'm telling you, you got to go and look at this. This is crazy.
No, this is their second game. They were supposed to have a home game against Peach State for their preseason game. However, they went on the road and played Peach State at Peach State.
So 1 or 2, I still get the idea.
Regardless, like we're bashing a guy who's literally building a team by himself.
I'm saying he's trying his best. I'm not saying he's a great person. He's doing a good job, but they're in the mud right now. So you gotta dig out, right? It takes time.
That's okay. That's a better way to put it than the dumpster fire you mentioned it as before. I'm just trying to say, like, give the guy some credit. He's trying, man. Plus, I mean, we like Coach Eddie here. He's awesome. He's an awesome guy, and I think everybody who's with him, they definitely know that he's a good person. So they played Peach State at Peach State and Jersey at home. Okay, my mistake. Slow down, guys. We haven't won anything yet. Well, you've won a couple games, and it's looked pretty convincing. So that's why we're pretty heavy on that board. But I will say it until I'm blue in the face. Do not count out Jersey, and Wheeling has surprised me as well. This league is looking a lot more competitive than I initially thought it might have been. So excited to see the next game between Columbus and Wheeling, and Jersey and Wheeling or Columbus tonight. So it's going to be a good one for sure. And you can catch that game on PDF Sports Network. I will check with Coach Strong and figure out exactly where you can find their games before tonight, and I'll try and post that up on the Facebook page for us, and then as well as the league. So on that note, we're going to hit a quick commercial break. We're already 40 minutes in. It's been a quick show already. So on that note,
I learned that from Cody, man. Like, that's where I got that from.
What'd I do?
Krish can't compliment anyone without dogging someone else. That's hilarious.
Hey, man, you look good, but that other guy's trash.
100% accurate.
What was that, Cody?
To his commenters, like, you can't compliment without saying something negative. It's like, that guy's good, but that guy's trash. Exactly.
I need to get a sample from one of the other shows on the network, Snowman in the Morning. There's a phrase that they use that I imagine nobody's watching has seen it, but they have this whole skit where one of the hosts is like, Trash, and they made it this whole like song. So one of these days I'll play it for you guys, and I'm sure you'll enjoy it. It's a lot of fun. But on that note, we're going to hit that commercial break. We'll be right back. We've got a lot to talk about, whether it's NAL, IFL, AF1. We've got topics on all of them. And we're going to try and wrap this bad boy up in probably about another hour and 15 minutes. So stick with us. It's going to be a quicker one today. And then, like I said, at the end, we got the interview with Taylor Jin Yu Sir.
Close.
Step up in the pocket, has some room in front of him, gets that three-step drop, here comes the pressure, passes complete to Flowers, back to pass, pressure coming, has somebody in the end zone, touchdown! Pressure's coming, Russell able to escape, still on his feet, and will be brought down at the, looking, has plenty of time, has Flores at the 15, he's at the 10, and Russell has it on the outside, like I said, he ain't taking a slide, Russell steps up, let's one go, Robinson makes the circus catch it. Going to be a low snap, here comes the pressure, and the pass is going to be complete, and making the catch on Grant Russell. Russell, back to pass, looking, he has Robinson makes the catch, and will be brought down on the play by Isaiah Hall.
How many times a week? Like three, four times maybe.
I gotta pump those numbers up. Those are rookie numbers in this racket.
I'm just being myself.
right, we are back, and we're going to be talking about the NAL at this point. We should have another guest joining us, I believe, in about 15 to 20 minutes or so. And we should be able to talk some IFL at that point. So at this point, like I said, we'll transition over to the NAL, and we're going to start with a little bit of an explanation for some rankings that Krish put out. Krish, you recently put out some front office grades for every team in the National Arena League, and it elicited a lot of conversation, quite frankly, a lot of questions, a lot of maybe I don't want to say concerns, but some people disagreeing, some people agreeing, some people saying you hit it spot on. So on that note, go ahead and quickly run through your front office grades. You don't have to say every single one, but at that point, kind of give us your top teams, who you think does it the best, and your bottom teams, and how you kind of came to these rankings.
Yeah, so I did it with two categories, right? Football ops and front office. So front office for me is, attendance, social media, partnerships and community and everything. And then football ops is how you are, kind of looking on the field. So I'll kind of go through it. So Southwest Kansas, I give an A for both. I think their attendance has been up. Cody, you were at a game, so you saw their game day experience is amazing down in Southwest.
Oh yeah.
So I gave them an A. Sioux City, I give them front office an A. Football ops, I give them a B+. They're kind of lacking on some things on the football field, but they can get to an A- easily. Amarillo, front office is a D, and football ops is an F. Leif Curtis has ran that program into the ground, unfortunately. Louisiana, I give a front office a C. I think they're trying on social media with the cameos. It just hasn't translated yet to, enough attendance. So it might get there. Football ops, I give an F. They've been really bad on the field. Omaha Beef, I gave the front office an A. I think Ricky and them do a great job. I think the football ops is an F. I think it's been a total disaster for them all season. And that falls on, the front office and the coaching staff. It's getting better, but it's still an F. In my opinion. So they brought in the wrong guys to Omaha, and they expected different results. Colorado Spartans.
Krish, hold on real quick. Before you move on, can you expound on your point there that they brought in the wrong guys?
Yeah, I think, they bringing in, Demery Croft to start the season and putting all their resources into him, only for him to last, he played 5 total snaps, or maybe 7. So, just for them to bench him, it doesn't look good. It's a failure on the football ops, right? You have all offseason to find a starting quarterback, and that's who you settle on, right? And then,
Gotcha.
And then it's just some pieces here and there, and then not giving guys an opportunity to, truly shine or develop in the system. It says a lot. Colorado, I give their front office a C-. Coach Negrona down there at the GM now, so that will only go higher. He's already, I believe he secured 3 partnerships this week. So, he's going to make that turnaround. And their attendance hasn't been great either. So they need more fans in that Denver Coliseum for them the amount of money they pay players on that team. They need fans to make up for it. Football ops is a B+ for them. I think, they've lost some games. I would do it more like a C now because, this was before last week's performance against Pueblo. It was a very disappointing loss for them, but I still think they can win out. Pueblo front office, A-. I'm man enough to admit I was wrong. The front office is more of an A- because of issues paying players. You shouldn't have guys like Kyle Lester and guys like that leave during the season. It's not the best look, but it's still an A-. It happens to every team. They look good on the field. Football ops, A. I think I got to give Solo and Tay a lot of credit. They proved me wrong, man. I can admit it. I can admit when I'm wrong, unlike them. But I think it shows a lot of pride the way they have put this team together, and I think the sky's the limit for them if they stay on the right track. If not, it might be a one and done playoff exit, but we'll see. Carolina front office A, and then football ops B plus. So yeah, that's
TJ, you have a question, comment?
I have a question.
Yeah.
How is one guy with one team aiding them getting an F because he's the wrong pick for a team, but then he goes to another team and he's the reason why their grade's going to skyrocket in the next week or two? I just want to know the logic behind that.
Well, he was coaching, right? Now he's on the business side of things. So, he's more proficient in that side. He hasn't developed fully as a coach, in my opinion, right? He's a great in the front office. I would put Coach Negron up there as top 5 in sales in the league, right? Like from what I've heard and seen, so I think that's a big move. It's a good question too, but that's how I did it. I went through and I looked.
I hate to say it, but I agree with him. That was a good answer. Damn it.
Yeah, no, I mean, honestly though, I went through and I kind of, I really, really thought this went through. That's why my content gets more views than anything put out on the NAL network or social media. So, because it's accurate and it's right, people want to see good content. I think a card in them should take notes from me. You can learn a lot. So.
It's definitely not because it's controversial. That's for sure.
So someone strokes his ego in the comments, and he's going all out this episode.
That's true. I probably shouldn't have started the episode by calling him one of the best young people in arena media.
I really think it's important to have the discussions and competitions. Oh, I have a full front office grade coming out on the leadership of the league. That's coming next week.
Oh Lord,
that's gonna be fun.
I'm gonna need to make sure we have a disclaimer in place for that one. Coach Brandon Eichert's gonna stop talking to me after that. Eddie is going to get this right. His program is heading in the right direction.
Didn't he already stop talking to you after Dallas?
No, we're good. He's doing the right things behind the scenes. I actually just talked to him yesterday. Please remember to hit the like button. Why so low for office rating for the Roux? Krish counter is now at 6.
It's been terrible, man. Like, I'm not gonna lie, the attendance hasn't been good. You brought in your new GM, Steve Walters. You told him you needed to sell $300,000 in a month. Obviously, that doesn't look like it's happening, unfortunately. But I no one can sell that much in a month, right? So, you put stipulations on someone like that, like right off the bat, and he doesn't even know the market. He hasn't even lived there. Like it's difficult. He was put in a tough spot, right? So.
Right, but at the same time, that was a goal, right? I don't think that was like, hey, make this much money or you're fired, So, Coach Diver tuning in. He woke up this weekend. I'm just kidding, Coach. We'll definitely get you back on in the future. Would love to have you back on. As you know, a big fan of yours. Krish, did you ever get your code from the NAL network? Brian, did you ever get your code from the NAL network? I believe you did, my friend.
I don't think I checked. I mean, I might have.
Well, Krish, if you need me to get your code, I will do what I can, okay? I'm apparently the third party middleman for the NAL customer service department recently. I got Brian his code, Eichert sent me his code because we were talking already. So he was like, hey, I saw Brian's comment on your show. Make sure this gets to him. He's like, we've been missing each other in emails, boom, boom, boom. So he wanted to make sure he takes care of it. So just keep in mind, Commissioner watches the show. I'm not saying that we're trying to lobby for all the complaints and stuff, but I mean, if you have a message to get to him.
Yeah, Brian has a huge multi-million-dollar lawsuit on his hands.
Oh Lord, stop! We're not going to get into that. Sorry, Brian. That's between
you know what, Krish? You know what Krish just made me think of? That meme where that guy's sitting on the porch swing just staring off. That's him thinking about his $30.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. I should get that set up. Sorry, attendance issues across the board for most teams. You're not wrong. Chris talking so much shit on the NAL, he's just forgetting his true enemy, Vegas.
The way I defended Coach D in those comments from the Rattlers fans, man, oh my God, bro. I should get a Nobel Peace Prize the way I defended that man. Like, and
Lord.
he owes me everything,
You
man.
won't even get into that. Triple McGee, he has a point, right? The front office grades are not necessarily just determined by the football operations, right? That's why they got a very low grade on football operations. If you talk about the game day operations in Omaha, I mean, I don't think that there's any argument that they're among the best in any league. They pack the house, they do great marketing, all that stuff. So that's why it's so high. Shiver is laughing. Let us know your thoughts in the chat. I have a complaint, Sam. Yeah, we're not going to talk about that, Brian. Like I said, that is something that probably needs to be kept, private between you and the league. So, anyway, we're going to talk about some NAL transactional information before we get too far off the rails here. Pueblo has made a ton of transactions over the past week, including releasing Kyle Lester, Patrick McSweeney, Billy Regans, Danye Dixon, and Dion Threat Vassars. They also signed Devon Blair, who was recently released from Salina, and offensive lineman Marcelo Holquin. They also lost another player to long-term IR, which I did not write down, so I apologize for that player. I'm blanking his name at the moment. So a lot of moves there for Pueblo. Krish, you know a lot of these guys pretty well. Do you think any of these guys are going to significantly change Pueblo's fortunes down the stretch?
Man, Dionne Dixon came out hot, right? He started the season on a tear. He kind of slowed down since, but that's a big lot. I mean, he lived locally, so this might be a thing where, hey, I can't make the trip type deal, which I can understand. Or he might be one of the IFL, but I think he'll stay local. I think that, I couldn't see him leaving.
Who was that? I'm sorry.
Huh?
Who did you say? I'm sorry.
Dionne Dixon.
I think he got released because of his actions in the last game.
Really? What did I miss on that? I must have. I'll go back and.
He like tipped Fred Shaw's hat or something like that. He walked up and hit Fred Shaw's hat on his head.
What quarter was this in? I need to go see that.
I don't recall, but I just remember hearing somebody mention it, and I was like, "Oh, okay," and then saw that he got cut, and I was like, "Oh, okay."
That's what I think. They might have just cut him for this week. So we don't, because they play Colorado again, and he lives in Pueblo, so I couldn't see. I could see him being brought back next week. Kyle Lester, I know, is going back to International Rental League. That was so weird. They brought him in for a week, and now he's going back to International Rental League to play for Cincinnati down there. He says he's going to pay it, so must be let's go on. Kayshawn Allen, that's a huge loss for them. Obviously, his IFL experience with
Thank you, Cody.
in Tulsa, so you never want to lose a veteran piece like that. And then Patrick McSweeney, man, oh my God, he was on IR, long-term IR. He's must be healthy. At least he must be hurt and be done for the season. I'm kind of confused with that. I mean, he's a huge part of that offense. So I hope he finds another team or signs back with them because he's really good for the league.
Yeah, great guy too. I had a chance to have a brief conversation with him at the Pueblo's first game, and he's just a good dude. So I was rooting for him, and I'm curious what happened there as well because, like you said, he was on long-term IR, I think season-ending IR. So I'm curious why the release happened in the first place. AJ Roque checking in, the head coach of the Jersey Bearcats, as well as the commissioner of the AL2. Thanks for checking in, AJ. We appreciate it. On to Omaha. Omaha has made a bevy of moves at quarterback this week with Gio Sanders out, Tyler Lowenstein out, Vincent Espinoza and Ivan Corbin have been signed. And man, I mean, you want to talk about a shuffle that makes you look a lot better on paper for Omaha. They also signed defensive lineman Freedom Akin Maludon, who was with the St. Louis Battlehawks for multiple years.
Freedom Akamoladoon.
Thank you. There you go. I won't try to repronounce that exactly as you have. You're a Cornhuskers fan. You heard the name a lot more than I did. So there you go. So yeah, lots of talent coming into Omaha. So we'll go to TJ on this one. What are your thoughts on Omaha's moves?
Man, I'm excited. I've been saying this for pretty much the entire season after they started off on a losing streak. Never count this team out. If there's a team who can do it, out of all the teams and all the leagues, there's a handful of teams. The Beef are one of those teams you'd expect to have that kind of in-season turnaround. I think some of these moves are doing it. They're getting a guy who has UFL, NFL experience for the D line. Everyone is probably expecting me to go off on, oh my man, we got Espinoza, but I'm actually just as excited about Corbin signing as well because he's a dual threat quarterback. And I love dual threat quarterbacks. You know why? Because when teams have issues like certain O-line problems, a mobile quarterback helps that. It covers it up. They can make plays. They can get first downs and everything. You saw it a little bit with some of the quarterbacks they brought in. They're looking for that more mobile quarterback to help just straight up move the ball down the field. However you got to do it, just do it. I think this is some great move. These are some great moves by Omaha, and I'm extremely excited as a fan.
Love it. Love it. Cody, I know you probably know a couple of these players pretty well, given your Cornhusker fandom as well as, your IFL knowledge. So what are your thoughts on some of these moves for Omaha?
Yeah, so I'll touch on freedom in a second because everyone wants freedom. Everyone loves freedom. But it's a good signing. It's a very, very good signing. I do take caution. We have seen former NFL players go into the arena leagues and not necessarily pan out. It's discussions that we've had multiple times over where sometimes we think NFL players that come into this league, we think they're just going to wreck house because, well, they play in the best league in the world. And it's not really the case. I look at Robert and Kemp DJ in Vegas, whether it was work ethic, whether it was just, I won't get behind the scenes or whatever. I don't care. But you do take a little bit of caution. But that talent is clearly there. So if he can wreck house, that's going to make that defensive line very scary for Omaha. When you look at the quarterback position, again, it's another thing of caution because I've talked about this multiple times in the indoor football league, at least. If you go through a bunch of quarterbacks and play this quarterback roulette, it is very tough. We've seen dual threats, whether it's, kind of James Summers trying to take off and run or Demery Croft trying to take off and run. I kind of see that with Ivan Corbin, but on a younger scale. He's definitely got more time to get acclimated. He's got some time to really get into it. He runs better than he throws, and that's okay. Iowa had him as special teams, running back, wide receiver until he eventually started over Harrison Rubidoux. I like the idea of Vincent Espinoza coming in as a veteran mentor and kind of doing that stuff, whether he starts or not. That is a good get. So that way you do have young, you do have old, and I use that quotations. It's a good idea on paper, like Sam mentioned. Can it work out? Because we're already on to what? Quarterback 4, possibly 5 for Omaha. It's not 5. Yeah, it's not necessarily a good look. But if they can maintain, there's that opportunity for them to rattle off some wins here towards the back end of the season and get into the playoffs.
Agreed, and I think that's the whole goal here, right? Basically, at this point, they have to beat out Amarillo and Louisiana to make sure they make it in the playoffs. It's pretty big long shot for them to leapfrog Colorado, and I have to do some math and look back at my calculations, but I don't think at this point they can technically leapfrog Sioux City or Salina.
I believe Colorado's the only team they could if everything works out perfect.
Right, and I think, Colorado would have to lose out. Omaha would have to win out, if I remember correctly.
The second tiebreaker point differential, right? So they lost to both those teams by 20+. So it would be difficult for them to leave.
Right, but I'd have to look back at the numbers, so I don't want to throw this out there. But we actually have another guest joining us, and he might have some thoughts on these Omaha moves. Trey, how you doing this morning, man?
I've always said the answer to Omaha's problem is a 5th and 6th quarterback, so I'm glad they're finally listening.
Well, there you go. I will say that I'm intrigued by Corbin because he can do some other things. He's not necessarily just a quarterback. So I'm curious to see how our guy CJ Kane out there uses Corbin and gets him involved. So I'm very, very curious on him. He could turn into a weapon there for Omaha. But I definitely I do think Freedom's going to be a big addition for them. It'll be interesting to see his transition to indoor football in the middle of the season without a training camp to kind of adapt. So that'll be fun. But high level player coming in, at the tail end of the year. You can never have too many good pass rushers, right? But on that note, I think we're pretty much good on NAL topics for the day. Krish, anything you wanted to cover in particular other than game picks?
Yeah, I mean, those are two big moves, right? Obviously, getting a D lineman with UFL experience is always huge. I can't believe he decided to suit up and play for Omaha. I get his brother is, Junebug on the offensive line, but he must be really close to his brother, the risk his health playing for a 1-5
He
team.
played at Nebraska. It's right down the road.
Yeah. Also, they don't pay guys anything, so he's playing for $250 where he could be somewhere else. That guy is a Vegas Nighthawk.
They just had Tommy Armstrong. They played together, if I'm not mistaken. Actually, yeah, I think they played together.
I still think it's crazy. It's just insane to me. But
That doesn't fit his narrative, Cody. Stop it.
I'm just saying, man, he's just so high level. Like, why? But it's
why are these players going to teams that have bad records? They need to go to teams with good records. Damn it!
I think I can answer this question.
Orlando's out.
I mean, when you look at Freedom's career, he is definitely on the downward slope, and I don't mean that in a negative manner for Omaha's perspective, but he was not in the UFL at this point for a reason. He was not in the CFL at this point for a reason. So, I think he's probably looking at this as like either one, a last-ditch effort for him to get back outdoors, or at the same time, it could be an opportunity for him to just go out on his terms, play one last season, hopefully get a lot, maybe a playoff run, help the Beef get into the championship game if everything goes according to plan for them. And then also get to play with your brother, right? So how cool is that in the state that you played college with? So this might just be his last hurrah at football, or we might see a situation where he might play a couple of years for Omaha. You never know. It just depends on how he enjoys the treatment there and stuff like that. But I actually think this might be a situation where they might have found another vet that sticks around for a little while.
I will not take this Nebraska slander. I will not. They suck, but the players are good. Stop it.
Oh, for the record, no. I don't mean that in a negative manner. Like, Freedom is a great player. He was a great player in St. Louis for years, like I mentioned. But I think he's a little bit on the older side in terms of UFL players.
You're calling him washed like Krish. My God.
No.
I'd see the day.
Trey living his best life, supporting Orlando without Krish. I love it.
Somebody's got to do it. Somebody's got to do it.
That's fair. Did anyone do NAL playoff scenarios yet? I haven't run all the numbers, so please don't take this that way. But I did run a lot of the playoff numbers because I knew this week was very, very crucial to the playoff seeding. So I will have an article coming out on Southwest Kansas Storm Football.com later on today that's going to go over some of the playoff scenarios, at least from Southwest Kansas perspective. And that will kind of let us know a little bit more about how that's all going to work. Roger, we're talking about Vincent Espinoza, not Blaine Espinoza, two different quarterbacks. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Vincent. So, Sam counter one. That wasn't intended that way. Just saying.
You said he was old. He was past his prime. What's next? You're going to be glorifying banners in airports?
I don't have a banner in my airport, at least not for either of my indoor football teams. That's for sure. Let me go ahead and pull up the games, but to kind of go over some of the playoff implications of this week, there is an outside chance that at least the number 1 and potentially even the number 2 seeds could be clinched this weekend. It just depends on how things go. Ironically, it would take a loss from Pueblo in order for both of those seats to be clinched. It would also require a loss from Sioux City and a win from Southwest Kansas for the number 1 seed to be clinched. And then it's pretty much all but a given that Colorado is going to end up in that 5 or 6 seed unless just a flurry of craziness happens over the next 3 games. So let me get that schedule pulled up. But we have 4 of arguably the most impactful games through the NAL season. We have Salina at Southwest Kansas, Louisiana at Omaha, Amarillo at Sioux City, and Pueblo at Colorado. On Sunday, Mother's Day, which is not great but we'll talk about that in a moment here. So without further ado, Krish, why don't you go ahead and start us off picks wise? There we go.
Yeah, so I mean, Southwest Kansas, I think we'll get the job done at home. This is a big opportunity for them to go 8-0, and I think if they do go 8-0, Coach Thomas officially clinches Coach of the Year, in my opinion. That's a surprise, isn't it? But no, honestly, he's done a great job with the program. The scouting department there, they deserve a bit of a raise. They've surprised a lot of people. Outsider philosophy has really come in and worked magic. But I think also, I think Jaden Sutton, deserves a lot of credit, and he should be in the MVP conversation, right? 15 touchdowns in 7 games as a running back. It's crazy. So, he's having a great season. Omaha, Louisiana, I'm not watching that, but Omaha will win. Omaha's, favorite to win. Amarillo and Sioux City. I mean, I'm not even going to watch that. Sioux City's going to win. And then the game of the week, in my opinion, Colorado, Pueblo. I think Colorado finally gets the win over Pueblo. They should not have lost last week. They should have beat Pueblo, but they missed opportunity. So I think Colorado wins by 5 points. So,
Krish, back up a moment. You think it's really going to be that set in stone with Amarillo and Sioux City?
Yes. Obviously, Sioux City, but they're at home.
I guess that does change a little bit, but I mean, Amarillo just took Southwest Kansas to task last week, and they're 7-0.
I know, but it's again, you're on the road, new coaching staff, right? So we'll see how they do in a road environment. I mean, the Tyson Event Center is one of the hardest places to play in the entire country, in my opinion. So.
Not wrong. I was just curious. Interesting. Shiver gives us his picks here: Salina, Omaha, Sioux City, Colorado.
Pueblo, they tried a similar style. Last game they did against Colorado the first game. They did the same exact thing. They slowed down the game. They only had 14 pass attempts. So, Colorado D-line kind of needs to, wake up a little bit and make plays.
Fair point. Trey, do you want to give us your picks?
Yeah, I think between obviously the Sunflower Showdown here between Salina and Southwest is going to be the most fun game of the weekend. And I think it's interesting that Southwest always manages to play up or down to their competition, which great for the viewer. If I'm a Southwest Kansas guy, hey, let's just go in there and take care of business, shall we? But that's going to be a good one. You got to lean towards Southwest, but Salina's got the weapons to make it interesting. So it wouldn't surprise me to see them come out. Louisiana, Omaha. Who would have thought that this would have serious playoff implications for both teams at this point in the season before the season started? But hey, here we are. That's why we play the game. Would love to see Louisiana go in there and take care of business because that would be funny for trolling purposes. But it feels like you got to lean Omaha just because Louisiana hasn't really looked ideal. They've been more competitive than I think they were last year, but still a ways away from where they want to be. Amarillo, Sioux City. Are we all in agreement that the Dimmery Croft experiment is over? Like we can all move on? I feel like we need to be all on the same page here.
I might be the outlier on that, but
they already moved on.
Okay, good. See, get the OTW counter ready because I think Democroft has shown what he is, and he shouldn't get the start in this one. I think Powell should get the start if they want a fighting chance at the playoffs and if they want a fighting chance to beat this Sioux City team. So Sioux City, I think, should win comfortably, but Powell gives them the best chance if he does get the start. Then Pueblo, Colorado. You want to talk about the Javin Kilgo experience, man. He goes full Jameis at times where every throw coming off of his shoulder can be a beautiful touchdown or a bad pick, which makes Colorado a very exciting team to watch. But it feels like Colorado needs to start gaining some momentum here and needs to start stringing together some wins so that when the playoffs do get here and when they are inevitably that 5 or 6 seed, they got some mojo going and they can get some momentum in their favor. So I think Colorado steals this one.
Fair point. It did seem like they had a pretty good chance at a victory last week. Speaking of Colorado, Coach Negron is checking in. He says shields up. Coach, now that you're with Colorado, I have a request, sir. Please never, ever put games on Mother's Day again in the future. It makes it incredibly difficult for a man like myself, who is married with children, to go to the game. So I will not be there today, unfortunately. Really should have made it last week. That's on me, but that's a story for another day. Let's go to TJ next on the picks. TJ, what are your thoughts? And I have a feeling I know your thoughts on Omaha versus Louisiana.
Yeah, my picks are pretty much going with the rest of the group. I think it's gonna honestly this weekend may be one of the better weekends in the NAL. I don't I see maybe one blowout, but I see three, possibly all four games really being kind of close. But I do think Southwest Kansas is going to end up beating the Liberty, but it may go down to the final minute or so. Omaha, obviously, I'm picking them, but I mean, really, it's kind of like what Louisiana team shows up because sometimes they just blunder, and other times they take you to the wire. So, and with Omaha too, they kind of seem to get in their own way, especially offensively. So I want to see them build. If they can do what they did last game against Dallas, then I'll be very excited and very surprised that it's a blowout win. But I'm even expecting that to be kind of close throughout. Sioux City, I think Amarillo, building off last week, new coaching staff, everything else. I still see the Bandits pulling it out at home, but I think Amarillo is also going to keep it a lot closer than a lot of people think. Uh, Pueblo, Colorado, that's another kind of like Salina and Southwest Kansas. That's like one of the two games of the weeks. I think Colorado does get the win this week, though, against Pueblo. Once again, though, I think it's going to go down probably inside the minute.
All right, a lot of predictions that the Colorado, Pueblo, and most of these games are going to be very, very close this weekend. Cody, what are your predictions for this weekend?
Well, as a day one Southwest Kansas Storm fan, just like Trey, I'm going to go with the Storm, but I'm not shocked whatsoever if Salina wins. And what I mean by that is it's the old adage of like, do you want to go into the playoffs undefeated? There's a lot of pressure when it comes to that, or does taking that loss, and I'm not saying throw the game or anything like that. I'm not shocked if Salina wins the game. They played close against each other the last time they came out. Southwest got the win. So again, I'm not shocked if Salina pulls the upset, but it is in it's in Dodge City. So home field advantage and everything like that. I think Southwest can pull out the victory, but again, I'm not shocked if Salina pulls it out, man, because it takes some pressure off. Again, not asking them to throw the game or anything, but get used to losing, I guess. But either way, go Storm. There you go. Omaha in Louisiana. The battle of mid. I mean, I don't know. Omaha should win this game. They are at home. You know, Louisiana does have a win to their credit too, but man, if Louisiana wins this game, oh, buddy. I'm not saying they will, but God, with all the transactions that Omaha has had, it's almost like let's see if we can throw more pieces at this and get a victory out. We'll see how it kind of goes. I've got Omaha on this one, but it could be closer than some people think. That's all I'm saying. Amarillo and Sioux City, I think Sioux City should come out and win this one. They should, but that's why you play the game. Amarillo, I don't know what to think with Amarillo, man. At some points, it seems like they have some good like tendencies. They got one win on the season, man. So give me Sioux City. I don't know enough about Amarillo. According to Krish, they're just the worst run team or whatever he said in the past. So give me the Bandits when it comes to that. And then finally, Pueblo versus Colorado. I think we said either last week or the week before when we were previewing, I think we said that they were going to split or that Pueblo was going to take both of the games. I can't remember what I said. I said something along those lines. So if the split happens, then Colorado needs to win this one. Otherwise, Pueblo's taking both. So I think Pueblo can win this game. Give me the Spartans in the upset.
And I think you got to look at too, like Southwest Kansas. They always start slow, because it takes time for Coach Thomas and Zinn to finally kick in, in the second half. So they're just a second half team, man. That's it. So that could be an outlier.
Could be an outlier. I definitely think it has something to do with roster construction, and I will be picking the Southwest Kansas Storm. Just saying. But on that note, I'm anticipating the Storm going 8-0 today. I do agree with all of you guys. This is going to be a close game. If you want any evidence, go back and look at the data from the last 7 matchups from the Salina Liberty and Southwest Kansas Storm. In their last 6 regular season game, they're exactly even in points allowed and points scored. That only changes when you consider the 2024 playoff game when they played each other and Salina won by 6 points. So that's the only difference. If you look at it, they have literally split it to where Southwest Kansas and Salina each won a game by 3 points in 2024. In 2025, it was each of them won 2 games, 2 points, 1 point. And then the beginning of 2026. So it's kind of crazy how it's all worked out, but this is going to be a close game. Probably the game of the week in any league, in my personal opinion, because this is one of those games that's going to be a chess match between the coaching staffs. Some of the best coaching in any league in these 2 teams, in my opinion. But then again, this entire lineup of NAL games is just phenomenal this week. So I think the Omaha, Louisiana game is going to be a lot better than a lot of people are giving him credit for. I think Amarillo is going to go into Sioux City and shock some people this weekend. I don't think they're going to win, but I think they will keep it very close. They've played a lot of close games and ultimately lost those games this season. So I think, dare I say, they are the better of the 2 one-win teams when you're looking at Amarillo and Louisiana. I'm leaving Omaha out of that conversation at the moment. Pueblo and Colorado. What's that?
You said you're leaving Omaha out of the conversation because they don't have a win. It's against Dallas, and they don't exist anymore.
I'm not going to go that route. Oh, Lord, that's a whole can of worms that we are not going to open this morning.
I'm just saying, Rich probably got the plaque with that win, 1-5.
Oh Lord, I have a hard time believing Ricky takes anything other than that being a win and getting that off his back. But on that note, I do think that Colorado probably escapes with the win tonight because they really need it. They understand that it's on the line, or what's on the line, and Pueblo has had a ton of turnover here recently. So I'm curious if that doesn't affect them for a week or 2 before they ultimately get back on the get back on their momentum and roll through the end of the season with a couple wins and clinch that 2 seed. So, like I said before, big playoff implications this week in the NAL. So definitely make sure you're watching all these matchups if you're a National Arena League fan, because they all matter, every single one of them this week, which is always a fun way to end the season, in my opinion. But we're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back. We'll talk about the IFL and the AF1 to close it out. And then we have an interview with Taylor Ginuser from San Diego Strike Force. And hopefully I pronounced it right on my 4th try. No? All right, sweet.
Omaha Beef Football! Prime Dancers! Rump Roasters! Slaughterhouse! Are you ready? DJ next one. You ready? 3, 2, 1, go! Welcome to the Orange Kingdom. Yeah. Orange Kingdom. Welcome to the Orange Kingdom. Yeah. Orange Kingdom. Welcome to the Slaughterhouse where we run it. Yeah, we really want it. Beef Nation got them shaking. Got a ring and we flown it. Prime Dancers be on it. I bet the competition's no opposition. We come to take and we done it. Ricky is the chief saying, let's go Beef. Welcome to the Orange Kingdom. Yeah. Orange Kingdom. Welcome to the Orange Kingdom. Yeah. Orange Kingdom. Welcome to the Slaughterhouse. Orange and Black. About to win this. Defense stays on attack. You on a hit list. Spiking, blocking, and dumping, jumping out the gymnasium. You want to see the best? Meet us at the Beef Stadium. Yeah. Orange Kingdom. Welcome to the Orange Kingdom. Let's go, Beef. Orange Kingdom.
All right, we are set back to talk about the IFL, and I would be doing everybody here a disservice if we didn't start on one specific subject, because it's on everybody's minds when it comes to the IFL this week, and that is, of course, the push seen around the world. And that was, of course, well, I guess two pushes, really. First, the push by Mike Davis, and then the subsequent push back by Kevin Guy. And then I'm sure we all saw this graphic that has made its rounds at this point, shared by Kevin Guy, of course. So let's kind of just go around the horn real quick on this, and I want to get you guys' thoughts. We've had kind of differing opinions on if this is good for the league, if it's bad for the league. So let's kind of go through it. And Trey, I'm going to give you the opportunity to start us off on this one.
Well, shout out to Iron Mike Davis for going toe to toe with the almighty KG. No, but all jokes aside, I think this is going to be a net good thing for the league because it's got a lot of attention, and I know some folks were like, oh, this is just wrong, blah blah blah. It's an attention seeking game right now on socials, and that's what the league is striving for. So, um, you know, not ideal to see it all go down the way it did, but I think they turned it into a net positive with some of the attention they got and how they were able to spin it. And Krish, plug your ears. I don't want you to hear this part, but if we do see these two teams again in a couple of weeks, it will be absolute fireworks. It will be must see TV. I said if, Krish, swords down. I said if. So yeah, I think it's a net positive, and I was standing up in my living room when this happened. I was like, this is cinema. This is so good. So
That's awesome. That's awesome. I definitely think that the league has they've spun it, which it was kind of interesting to kind of see how they approached it. Like on one hand, it was being promoted, because it was being talked about all over. But then on the other hand, they were also saying, oh, well, suspensions and fines will be levied for this. So Cody, I'm curious. You're a stickler, man. You like things a certain way from the league. You kind of call them out when there's some BS here and there. So how do you feel about the way they've approached the response, and then also how do you feel about the event itself?
So it's strange because obviously right now Vegas is on a bye week. So I mean, are you going to suspend someone for a week when they don't play a game? They said behind the scenes that there have been fines and suspensions and everything like that levied, but let's call a spade here. They're not going to let their cash cow of the IFL Cup get in the way of a good time. So the pushing and shoving has gone on, but I will give credit to the Indoor Football League, at least to my knowledge. None of them have really, as the league, like social medias, I don't think any of them have promoted the fight. It's been like Yahoo and us and other people like that. I mean, me, not the whole Shady Sports as a whole, but now Trey's talked about it. I've talked about it, everything like that. So it's not the Indoor Football League that's pushing this. It's everyone else. And they've had every opportunity to be like, hey, here we go. We've got some drama. However, it's been everyone else. So that is showing that the Indoor Football League is reaching out to different audiences. It's going viral, not just on the field with the plays and everything like that, but now we have these antics and stuff like that. It's good. It's bad. In the sense of, again, think about the amount of fights just in the last couple of years between players. You've had players in San Diego and Bay Area going into the stands. You had Massachusetts and Arizona. Like, this is stuff you don't want to promote. I get that. You've also had stuff within different sports leagues, college football, the NFL, whatever. The handshake between Jeff Schwartz and Harbaugh quite a few years ago, where they just like quickly shook hands and took off. Like, this, I wouldn't say it's a nothing burger because, again, heated moments. I get that, but at the same time, they're not promoting it. So I've got to at least give them credit. They came out and made their statement. Nothing's going to happen. We know that.
And just to jump in there, I think this is where having the sideline reporters is absolute gold for the league, because the way Jason Fitz was able to get in the mix immediately and in the heat of the moment, put a mic in their face and say like, hey, what's going on here? That was great television. And it's like Cody said, is picking up a lot of traction elsewhere. And it kind of has a WWE-esque feel to it, where we got a heel, we got a face, kind of one of those things. But hey, that sells, and that's something that works. So, I loved how they handled this and how all this went down.
Definitely. Yeah, we do have Mike Davis in the comments. Wasn't a fight, guys. We're not saying it was, for the record.
Fracas.
Mr. Walters is tuning in. He says, Trey, hey, man, you still owe us an interview. Just saying.
Yo, those finger guns are a 15-yard penalty. Jaden Delora had that last week.
Good point. Good point. Automatic first down. American Dream is about to be hell in a cell. And this is too good. Meet me in the mall. It's going down. I love it. I love it. So yeah, a lot of fun around this situation. I mean, let's be honest. At the end of the day, all this really shows is these guys are super passionate. And at the end of the day, like Trey said, I think it's going to be a net positive for the league because they've spun it and they've got a ton of views out of it, and it's been a topic on every major sports network around the world. So, not around the world, but that's a little bit of an exaggeration. But around our little tight-knit community, it's been around a lot. So it's definitely getting some views from people that would not have previously maybe been this privy to what's going on in the IFL. So, Krish, what are your thoughts on this before we kind of move on with the subject? We'll get you two.
No, honestly, no, man. Look, I know you're trying to make it more than it is, but look, I retweeted you, man. You know, nothing but love. But at the end of the day, like, Coach Guy, man, like, I respect Coach Guy a lot. I mean, he has a 79% winning percentage, 7 championships to his name, right? He's been doing this for so long. And for him to go up to another coach and be on the field during a challenge and clap, just walk up and clap, like, what did you expect? You're asking for trouble. And then, Coach D kind of shoved him. Didn't even shove him. I call it a tap, honestly. Like, it was a tap. And he fired back with a push, and then the second push is where I feel like he crossed the line. So, I thought Coach D handled it well. I thought he could have really went off. He could have knocked him out on the scene, but he didn't, and he handled the sideline interview well. And he's like, he doesn't care. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, for him, it's like, whatever. He's more focused on the team and the game. My big question is, that was an amazing football game, right? Arizona and Vegas, it was tight. Arizona should have, closed the gap. Arizona did something that teams have been trying to do for 5 weeks against Vegas. They stole a possession, and they weren't able to capitalize on it, right? And so, they had guys running wide open down the field. Arizona gave me hope that we can beat Vegas, So I feel like I think that shouldn't take away from it. I don't think it's good at all for the league. I think it was good in the moment, but now it's like, we got to stop. Like, everyone, Yahoo, everyone, like, it's over with, man. They can't. I don't want them to show clips this weekend in the Arizona game. Like, let's move forward and move on because, there's a lot of good storylines. The IFL Cup is going to be interesting. There's a lot of storylines like that one, and there's a lot of private storylines that I won't even dive into. But it's going to be exciting, and I think Coach Davis stood up and did the right thing. So I support him.
What this is also. Sorry, go ahead, Krish.
And it's real too. As a Pirates fan, I would have loved for him to have been suspended for this upcoming game, but that's not the right move. He should be allowed to coach.
That's fair. We'll talk about it. Well, maybe we won't talk about it today. There's a lot to talk about in this situation, but what this really has served is as a distraction, and what it's distracting us all from is the great comeback story that has happened recently in the Indoor Football League, and that is the comeback story for the male in Vegas that has finally gotten TJ his shirt that he is able to show off finally on the show. So very, very excited about that information. Breaking news as he finally showed us his Vegas shirt that does in fact exist and did in fact get mailed out on a Monday at some point in the past. So, bro, they didn't fight. We're aware they didn't fight. We're all playing it up, okay?
Ben McCoy would know what fighting is because it's going to go down tonight in Michigan. Best believe he's going to be at the game. So, when he gets around Minnesota, it's never good. So
that's a good point. That's going to be a little bit of a spicy matchup, and it should be fun to watch tonight for sure. From players to coaches, I definitely feel like you're right. Overall, it didn't hurt the league because it was not egregious. It wasn't an all-out bench clearing brawl. We got a couple pushes real quick, and that was it. So TJ, what are your thoughts on this whole situation before we move on?
Well, first off, I want to clear the air since my coach beat me to it. They did arrive about a month ago. I believe I showed it off the episode that you were not on. So just to clear the air there, coach, I got you. Number two, man, when that happened, I looked at the screen and I said, "Don't shove my head, coach. Don't do that. Come on, man. He will kill you. Come on. What are you doing?" No, it was good. It was good entertainment. The best part about it is exactly what's happening, and that's the organic marketing. People are obsessed with it. They want to keep sharing it. They want to keep talking about it. Like Cody said, the IFL has the only thing they've done is release a statement about it. So it's not like they're pumping it out like the WWE. It's everybody else doing it, which is so great because it's literally free. Oh Jesus. Because it's literally free marketing for the league. And in my opinion, I think it's going to amp up the cup even more. I mean, it's a foregone conclusion, Vegas is going to be in the final. I mean, come on. It's really just if Arizona makes it, right, Krish? So, but
honestly, one more thing. And my biggest problem with this whole thing, and this is my opinion, so it's going to be very kind of whatever. But when people are like tagging the coaches in this, when they're putting comments and they're like at Mike Davis, at Kevin, like, bro, stop. You know what I mean? Like, you're just going to make them mad. We're a couple days, like I said, we're a couple days removed from it. You don't need to be tagging coaches in comments, man. That's just never mind.
Oh, well, then I apologize if I angered Coach Davis by tagging him in my post when I said I got my money on him.
I was gonna repost the video from Yahoo, and I'm like, nah, man. Like, I got too much, respect for Coach to kind of put that out there, and that's why I retweeted your thing because I wanted the blood to be on your hands, not mine. So.
Oh Lord, that's crazy.
On video, evidence of him throwing you under the bus.
It's all good.
No, but honestly, the thing that got me was I don't know if a lot of attention really. I mean, obviously, people would have seen it and talked about it, but I think the post game interview that guy had really ignited it because he carried it after the game. That's when you knew it wasn't just a one off. It was all right. Here we go. This may carry into the cup. Obviously, no one was getting suspended right before the cup. So it's kind of just like a do whatever you want, guys living it up. He's talking about the endorsements they've gotten from it. Coach Davis, he's kind of just like, whatever, man. Like Krish said, it is what it is. I'm focused on the next game already.
I'm excited for the IFL Cup because
for the IFL.
Number one, I'm making the most sacrifice to be there. I'm sitting on a 8-hour bus ride, so but I would walk anything to see my team put belt. But honestly though, like, I also get to meet Trey. We got some things planned for that. So excited. But for me, like, each team in the IFL Cup has polarizing, personalities, right? I mean, you got Coach D with Vegas. You got, Tim, the mascot in New Mexico. You got who else? Obviously my boy Jawad, in Orlando. And then you got, Coach Guy in Arizona, like 4 polarizing, figures in the league. So I would say 3. I wouldn't say Tim in New Mexico is polarizing yet, but so 3. But still, it's going to be fun, man. I mean, it's going to be a fun battle, And I hope man. If they bring their mascot for Vegas, man, that's crazy.
He's going to rough you up, man.
I don't even have
mascot runner. You're going to be like one of the kids at halftime. They play the flag football. He's just going to truck you.
No, but I'm excited for it, man.
Then he's going to be so mad. He's going to make a mascot ranking and pick Vegas last.
I would do something like that, but no, honestly though, I'm excited, and I'm excited to have a good game and see the IFL Cup. But don't assume that Vegas and Arizona are going to be playing the championship. Like, that's hella disrespectful. I hope Coach D thinks that. I hope he does.
If the word "if" was used,
no, he's already decided it's happening. I know in the back of his mind, I know it's happening. So let's hope he comes in with that mindset.
So I wanted to address one other angle of this, and we could honestly probably spend a whole 2-hour show on this alone. But the one angle that I thought that TJ brought up that I thought was hilarious was, what about the conspiracy theory that this was all done somewhat intentionally to hype up the IFL Cup? And now, obviously, I don't think any of us truly believe that they would go that route, but it has served as a really good way to kind of add some storylines to the IFL Cup. So is there any thought process that like maybe this was a little bit of a marketing play? Or are we just that there's no chance they did that on purpose?
That would be hilarious, but we'd have to start giving out some Oscars for some of the performances we saw on on that Sunday night.
Dude, if it's staged and this was all just like we need to hype it up for this game, because like the conspiracy theory for people who don't know is that the ticket sales for the IFL Cup are lacking and there's not enough promotion and exposure, when they've been promoting this every single game. Every like quarter they're like, hey, let's talk about the big trends, and at the very bottom it's always the Indoor Football League Cup. Like they've been promoting this. We have been promoting it. I've been saying for months that they need to be promoting this, and they have been. So kudos to that. But if this is the thing that gets people to get to the game, like I've mentioned before, you need both of those teams to win their initial matchups to do it. And the fact that no one has worn a Macho Man Randy Savage tassel cowboy hat sunglass combo, that's what ruins the promo. You need to do that. Someone needs to be part of NWO.
I love it. That would be hilarious. This isn't the XFL though, so we won't go back to wrestling involving in football.
See, and that right there, you know, it shows his character, right? That shows
yeah.
who he is. So,
and like I said, I going into that, I don't think any of us really believed it. It was just kind of a funny joke that TJ said in our group chat, and I thought it would be funny to kind of address it. But
there's people out there though. There's crazy people.
I'm sure, but at the end of the day,
Luke Miller.
Do you think Coach Davis is more Stone Cold Steve Austin or The Rock? Let's get into that. I'm just kidding.
Man, he's the Undertaker. No one's taking him down.
Who's Kane?
Man, there's a lot of questions to answer.
I'm going to take this completely off the rails from the Attitude Era. Let's do this.
Oh, Lord. All right, so we will move on. There isn't a ton to talk about IFL news-wise other than that this week. So it's kind of, dominating the airwaves, of course. But we can definitely do our picks on the games. Is there anything else you guys wanted to discuss about the IFL?
Obviously, man, what about our coaches, man? We made so many moves.
Yeah, that's right.
4 coaches.
That happens every 3 weeks, bro.
Orlando hire some coaches, whatever. Let's go.
Go ahead, Krish. Go ahead and let's hear it.
Yes, go ahead, Krish.
You got to pull up the article, man. I can't talk about it without seeing the article on the website.
You don't know these guys all by hand? I guess it would be tough to remember every coach that's come through Pirates over the past couple of years. So let me refresh your memory. Let me see. I believe it was James Fuller, Bobby Scipio, Jason Simpson, and who's the other one I'm missing?
Right there.
Jesus, Fred Griggs. Yep. Fred Griggs. My fault. I apologize, Coach Griggs, if you're watching. That was completely out of line on my part. So you said you have 11 coaches now on staff. Is that correct?
11.
That is crazy. Man, that's a large staff. I've seen some large indoor football staffs, but that is insane. Krish, I mean, give us your thoughts on this. Like, do you think this is a positive? Do you think this is a negative? At what point are there too many cooks in the kitchen?
I mean, we had 10 coaches last year. We had 9 the year before. We had, I think, not 12. I think we had 10 the year before that. So, Jawad, my boy likes to go with sometimes larger staff, because it gives some more opportunity for one-on-one coaching and player development. And honestly, it does. Sometimes I feel like, Coach Fuller, like that's my guy, right? So I'm so excited for him to be on staff. But his knowledge, man, he played DB in the NFL, right? He played special teams. He's coming in to be our special teams coordinator. And our special teams unit has already been great. So he's only going to elevate that group, right? Coach Simpson, right? He's a national championship winning defense coordinator with Northern Arizona. So he's coming in. He's going to work with the defense with Toby and try to get that unit right. I mean, I'll be honest. Our defense has been terrible all year, right? So I can't get any worse than it is, right? So if we can get one, think about it. I was thinking about this yesterday too. You know what our time of possession is per game? You know, a lot of old school people with old school ideologies don't really like dive into that stat. But so I was gonna say, like, our time of possession is 43 minutes and 8 seconds per game. So if we get one stop per game, we can win, right? Trey, if you do the math, you're averaging 43 minutes.
Well, I think that 43 number is also a little deceiving because if you're giving up one play drives on defense, the other team doesn't need the ball for
That's
extended
what I'm
periods.
saying. You get one stop, you can milk the clock more. It adds 5 minutes to it, hypothetically, right?
Hypothetically, I think it's a little more complex than that, but I see where you're going. I see the spin zone. I get what you're saying.
I mean, but honestly though, it's great, man. I'm excited. You know, we added some new players too. You know, we have a whole new DB room. We added Coin Ballard back. You know, he was with us in 23 before he got the private workout with the Ravens, and he moved up to the UFL. He was okay with us, you know, but I'm excited to see now he's a finished product, right? He had 2 years in the UFL. He's coming back. We got Javaris Davis, right? He played with Jacksonville Sharks. He's from Auburn. You know, he was he was supposed to go to CFL. You know, sometimes, you know, family comes first, right? And so he made that sacrifice, and just really, really, you know, excited to have him on the team. He played in 2 IFL games, and one of them he won Defensive Player of the Week. He had 8 tackles, 2 pass breakups, and an interception in one game. So, I mean, he's a stud. You know, he added that. Javaris Davis, I will say this, he is the leader we need at this moment. And he's going to bring our DB room to – I'm not saying we'll be the best DB room in the league, but he's really going to elevate the room to where we need it to get to compete with Vegas and Indy and teams of that caliber. And then let's see. We signed a DB from Illinois, but he refused to report. You know, I felt like Southwest Kansas for a moment. I was like, I couldn't believe we've never – hey, this is the first player we had refused to report since 2024. I was so disappointed. And then let's see. We activated Jaquez Bristol off IR. So
I like the Jay Person signing. I think he's gonna be good at that linebacker spot. I really like that.
Hey, I was watching this film, man. I don't want to say Ray Lewis vibes, but man, I felt some type of way. You know?
Yeah, he's a dog out there. I think the best hire out of that group of 4 is Simpson. Because what he was able to do to that San Diego defense a few years back is crazy. Like I think they had 7 interceptions in 2023. I think they had like 24 his first year as defensive coordinator. So when you're looking at a secondary that has been absolutely struggling in Orlando to stop a nosebleed, you bring in that guy. I think that's the best hire of the 4, in my opinion.
Of course, man. I mean, like I said, national championship winning defensive coordinator. You know, I mean, when Coach Davis called offense back in the day in 22 and 23, you know, how many points Jason Simpson held him to? You know, 43.5 points per game. So he's gone against the best coaches in the Western Conference. And, I mean, I'm just so happy to have him on staff.
Held him to 43 is a crazy sentence.
I was going to say, and just for everybody at home who doesn't know this, Mike Davis is a defensive-minded coach. His background is in defensive line and you know, various things like that. So kind of a goofy way to prove your
man. Like, that's amazing. So
yeah, one other name I wanted to throw out there, Bobby Scipio. For the younglings out there that don't know Bobby Scipio, go watch some Bobby Scipio AFL tape from the late 2000s.
Arena Bowl champion, baby.
Holy hell, that guy was causing havoc. So him reuniting with EJ Burt on this staff and for the Pirates, EJ doing some defensive quality control, and now Scipio was the offensive coordinator for the Predators a few years back. Kind of makes sense why he joined the staff here, and he's local. So it's interesting hires.
No, you know what? Actually, I want you to answer this, Trey, because I know you're gonna blast us in private.
Okay.
You know, make up the deal on Twitter when you're at the game.
Yes,
you know,
please.
Kind of
lay it on me.
But, or your team now too, because you're a day one.
I'm a day one fan. Thank you for acknowledging me. Acknowledge me.
But honestly, though, like, what else would you have done during the bye week? Like, I feel like this is the most productive bye week we could have possibly had.
Yeah, I mean, considering some of the call-ups you had to the outdoor leagues, you needed some reinforcements, and I think they played everything the right way. To me, I think it's just crazy to have this many coaches on the staff. When ultimately you have more coaches than wins at the end of a season, I think that's nuts. And the way things are trajectorying, like they honestly could exceed 11, right? But I don't know. It feels like too many cooks in the kitchen. But if each person is doing their part, it could work. But it just seems like a lot of moving parts.
I agree, man. Jawad, one thing he preaches is, it's not about being the best team; it's about being the most competitive team, right? And competing for championships. And that's how you build. Okay, like I don't see what we're not a low budget team. Like, I'm sorry, like
I knew that was going to come as soon as he said that. Of course they do. They get their own private jet. Who do you think we are?
Chris, you were in the group chat saying that you made 12 roster moves and added 4 coaches. He just repeated it.
True.
I'm excited, man. Like I'm hopeful, man. I think every coach and the staff, collab. Like I said, the standard is to be the most competitive team and compete for championships. If everyone on the staff buys into that, we can all they can all collaborate and create something really special.
Eventually, you guys are going to have a coach for every individual player on the team.
It's great, man. One player development. Like, I don't know what you want. Like,
hey, look, Chris does a lot of spin doctoring when it comes to anything Pirates related, but I will say there is something to be said about having a lot of one-on-one time coaching-wise position groups. So I think there is something to be said about that. Now, whether or not it pans out to wins, we'll see. 11 coaches is a lot for an indoor staff, regardless of who that team is. So I'm curious to see how this all works out for sure. But we've talked a lot about fighting, and we've talked a lot about the Pirates. So let's actually talk about some football. There was a game last night. Maybe you have heard, maybe you have not heard. Sorry, Cody, that we have to relive some of these nightmares for you. But the Green Bay Blizzard put a whooping on the Quad City Steamwheelers.
That's what we call it. We call it belt the ass. But
yeah, it was a BTA moment, as Krish would say, and I believe
not even you, man. Not even you. My phone will be on silent. Don't even try me today. All right, this is a must-win game.
A must-win.
You heard it here first. Must win. Got it.
No, you know what? It's not the one. It's just another one.
Is it must win or can't lose?
Good question, Cody. Must win or can't lose. Chris, you're on the clock.
I mean, like I said, it's not the one. It's just another one.
Okay.
It's a must win. Every game is a must win.
Is it loser leaves town?
I mean, this is a big game in terms of this is the Eastern Conference game. It's in conference, so of course you want to win.
Sorry, Sam. We
no, you guys are fine. You guys are fine. It's entertaining. Trust me. That's the whole reason I let it just happen. So about that game last night. Again, sorry, Cody. Not trying to spend too much time on this, so I apologize ahead of time. But
as much time as you want, man. The game sucked. I mean, for a team on paper that I had in the championship, and a lot of people did. Sorry, not to hijack it, but where do you go from here? And I said this in the preview for the game prior to this, just there's not been enough done on that defensive side of the ball for Quad City to have made any noise. Yes, they beat Green Bay earlier in the season, but I have not seen anything defensively that's to my credit, like to Quad City's credit, has been like, yes, this is what's going to stop them from scoring a bunch of points. The offense can put up points, but they're getting into these shootouts where if you're scoring 40, 50 points on the offense, that defense is giving up even more. Now, yeah, there's a bunch of turnovers and stuff like that happen as, I've been kind of watching the game as the on demand as we've been doing this, but it's just like, my God, man, I don't know where to go from here. It's sad. A lot of high expectations to fall flat on your face. Like, I don't know.
Do you stick with Neil?
Huh?
Do you want them to stick with Neil?
You've barely turned to Judd Roberts. I mean, what are you going to do? What are you going to do at this point, man? I mean, he is the offense. The rushing game just does not exist. And that's the thing that used to be kind of a bread and butter of Quad City is you would be able to run and pass pretty efficiently together. Now, obviously, they pass the ball a little bit more, but Neal using his legs, like there hasn't been enough of Jared Ware. There hasn't been enough of Trenton Barnes or anyone on those motion sweeps. Like, I think I looked at the stats. I think the leading rusher last night was 40 yards, something like that, or maybe even less than like 20 yards or something. Like, they just can't run the ball. And I don't know what's going on, if it's the offensive line, if it's just the offensive scheme. I don't know. Now, I will say this: I don't think that this is a cause for concern, because I've been seeing people go out to be like, "Hey, you need to fire Corey Ross. You need to do this." If you do that, you're stupid. If you do that, just fold the franchise, because this is a bad season. But we're not going to overreact when it comes to this. It's a bad, no good, dirty, rotten season. But there's always next year. You're going to retool that offense. You're going to retool that defense. You're going to go through the coaching staff and purge and do whatever. You get right back on track. But for any of the overreaction, we need to fire the coach, we need to do this, go through that. No, it's just a really bad season.
Corey Ross is done after this year because, and I say why, he's in the last year of his contract with Quad City. He signed a 2-year extension back in 24, so this is the last year. He won't be back next year. And that might be by his choice too.
It very well could be, but I mean, we've talked multiple times, even last week, Coach Davis was on the show. What coaches are out there? I'm sure there are plenty, but do any match what Quad City kind of wants to do? I don't know. So it remains to be seen. But if Corey Ross is out there and says, I don't want to come back to Quad City, whoever hires him is getting one damn good offensive coach.
Where is he initially from? Oh, never mind. He's from Denver, Colorado. I didn't realize that. Should have known that. Didn't. Now I do. Never forget it. Guaranteed. He went to a little place called Nebraska. I'm sure Cody hates that fact.
No, Pork Chop was one of the best players in the Bill Callahan era, man. He was really, really, really good. Obviously, he had the stint with like Bismarck during like the COVID year or the dormant year in 2021, and then came back to Quad City. So it was really cool to get him back when it came to that. So I don't know. It's just a poopy season, man. I don't know how else to describe it. All the high expectations falling flat on your face. You get sad. That's why I put on the Southwest Kansas jersey.
Hey, if ever needed, you can always fall back on a winner. That's for sure. So on that note, we can kind of move on and give our picks for the rest of the games this week. Let me go ahead.
My thing with Quad City is like Cody hit it on there. They're so one-dimensional offensively. Like, they shut down Keon. I love Keon, but they shut him down last night. They had, they were doubling him up all game and no response. He tried his best. I give him a lot of credit for him going out there and playing for another team that's underperforming. He tries every play, but I think Daquan Neal during the bye week is going to make a decision. And I think a lot of vets on that team are going to make decisions on if they want to continue or not. And that's going to be hard. Those are hard conversations, right? But they need to be had. So.
That's a bold proclamation. You're saying a bunch of vets are going to quit on a team that has been.
They need to make a decision. A decision needs to be made. So.
Yeah, like I said, it's bold. It's bold. You're essentially saying a bunch of vets of the league are going to quit on their team, which is a little bit of a blasphemous statement for some people, but we'll see if Daquan Neal happens to watch the show and catch that.
Can you pull up the spreads instead of the?
Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah, because I need to make sure we point out some bullshit.
Whoa, okay.
Here we go.
A family show.
Here we go.
Find myself saying that a lot lately.
That spread for Orlando is disrespectful.
I mean, it is, but you got to explain why.
It's not though. It's not
always that.
Considering how the past month has played out, it's not.
It's not okay. Well, you clearly don't respect the stat. We lead the league in time of possession with 43.
Is the staff throwing the football?
To be fair, the spread was decided before half your staff was hired this week, so
that's true.
Good point, TJ. Good point.
Look, man, I'm sure Trey and I would not be opposed to seeing Bobby Scipio suit up and play another game.
Oh, let's go. Sign me up. Is 8.5, is that the over-under on number of coaches on the staff, or is that the spread? I forget.
Ouch. I'm glad you guys have had plenty to talk about because it's taken me a minute to pull up these spreads at the moment. Apparently, I deleted DraftKings.
We know the number. We know the number for the Pirates. So, Krish, go ahead. 8.5. Orlando plus 8.5 at home. Give us your thoughts.
I think Andy's style of play, right? They like to run the football.
Mm-hmm.
I believe we have a good front. I think with Jaquez Bristol, I know how good Jaquez can be, right? He's a CFL caliber player. You know, we got Mike Mason, we got DJ Dale on the D line. We kind of, you know, we came into the season with 8 D linemen on the roster, and so now we only have 4. You know, we made some changes at the D line room, but I'm really excited on what that group can do. You know, we're averaging 63.5 rushing yards allowed per game, so we need to kind of get that down a little bit. But I'm excited. I think it's a great opportunity for us to come in and prove that we're one of the top teams in the league. And I think if we beat Indy, we start turning a lot of heads going in. That's momentum, you know, going into the IFL Cup where we face, you know, that team. And I think, but we got to beat this team. You know, I'm focused on this team. I'm not focused on that team. That team is focused on the Pirates, but I'm focused on this team. And so, you know, I feel like we can cover the spread and win the game. So it's going to be plus 8.5, going to be under 96.5. There won't be that many points scored. It'll be a low scoring game because we're going to move the ball. So.
You want to just go ahead and run down and give us the rest of your picks?
Yeah, of course, San Antonio. I'm going to go San Antonio money line and over 75.5. That's a bold take, but 75.5 feels too low to me. Tulsa and Jacksonville. I hate to do it, man, but give me Jacksonville plus 1.5. Tulsa defense is so bad. They played better last week, but their defense is still not where it needs to be. So, and give me
just to clarify, it's Sharks minus 4.5, not plus 4.5. So you're still doing minus 4.5?
No, plus. Is that not?
No, Sharks are favored at home by 4.5.
Yeah, am I crazy here? They're favored.
No, they're both minus. So you're looking at
that's not possible. That's not how spreads work, Chris.
How is the spread minus 4.5 both sides then?
It's not. It's minus 4.5 for Jacksonville. It's plus 4.5 for Tulsa.
That's not a plus, bro. That's a minus. I can see.
Dude, I can
Tulsa
literally
has plus.
look at the other screen. It is a plus 4.5 spread for Tulsa, a negative 4.5 for Jacksonville.
I got the
doing
biggest
here?
in the group. I know what I'm seeing. So
Okay, we can argue about it all you want, or you can just trust me that I can see the screen.
Homie, you got 3 on 1 right now. We're all saying it's minus 4.5.
I'm telling you, Chris, it's minus.
There you go. Even people in the chat are chiming in. It's a
anyway,
plus.
Tulsa, I'm not going to argue with this. You know, now you're just.
So you're taking Sharks minus 4.5. That's what you're taking.
No, Tulsa plus 4.5. Then.
Okay. All right. See, I'm glad I said something.
Okay, now I can see it. There we go.
Go to the eye doctor. Jeez.
My Lord, dude.
The plus 1.5. And give me the over. 85.5.
Oh man, what a show today! I love it. Love it.
All right, then last game, Krish. We got other people to get to here. What do we got?
Oh man, my boy Kaiser in Tucson, man. He's gonna be calling the offense. That's gonna be. I hope he does his best, man. Like I mean, I just don't think he knows the offense like that. You know, he probably kind of look at old game film or playbooks and try to figure out something. You know, they need to go back. I know Trey, you know, he hates him, but he needs to go back to Jalen Ellis, man.
Where's this coming from?
You said he hasn't performed, which is true, but still, it's like you.
How does that mean I hate him? You agree with me? Why are you bullying me?
You should have defended him more when they went to Otto, you know, because he gives them the best opportunity to win games.
Then why haven't they?
I don't know. The coaching staff has something against him. I don't understand.
So real quick, who was the OC before Kaiser took over? I'm forgetting. I'm drawing a blank.
Coach Fuller.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Coach Fuller liked to pass the football. You know, he's an old school style.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but
so why couldn't they pass the football?
Because, but what I'm saying is like the coaching staff as a whole is responsible too, for adjusting. So
Got it. Okay, so the quarterback should have thrown the football. The coordinator should have thrown the football, but they couldn't throw the
you're
football.
really over making this more than it needs to be. It was just a bad system.
I'm just trying to unwind this ball of yarn we've got here.
Trey, really quick. I thought James Fuller just got hired somewhere. Where did he get hired?
I don't know, Krish. Where did he get hired?
Anyway, give me Arizona minus 14.5.
Oh, got it. Okay.
They'll come out motivated. I don't think, Taz Wilson, if Steve Walters is watching, you probably regret doing that whole press conference for him when you said he's the leader we need at this moment because he's not on the team anymore. That honestly, Steve Walters will come out one day and say that was the biggest mistake of his professional career ever to do that press conference with Taz Wilson, only for him to last 2 games or 3 games. So, but he threw 7. He turned over the ball 8 times in 3 games. I love Taz. He's a nice guy. He's washed up. Give me Arizona minus 14.5.
Sounds like you hate him.
But what about my guy Chuck Dog Gritty, man? Chucky Williams, man. Hey, look, he got the interception last game. He played pretty good. I'm just happy for my guys out in Tucson. Still living the dream. So it's good.
So it's your guy when they make a play. It's not your guy when they turn the ball over 8 times.
Taz was on our team for 1 season, and he did the best he could. But
okay. No.
Oh, okay. So you measure your love for a player by how long they spent with the Pirates?
Absolutely, yeah.
Well, when you take a look at it, though, whether it's Kaiser, Wilson, Tavion Thomas, Chucky Williams, it's like a Pirates reunion out there in Tucson. Why is Tucson not your team?
I mean, I support what they got going, but I mean, I hope they pull out the win. But I mean, I'm realistic too.
So what's your official pick, Krish?
I told you Arizona minus 14.5.
Okay, got it. I just wanted to make sure. I'm jotting down some notes over here. Just want to make sure they're accurate.
Okay.
Okay, now that we've spent 20 minutes on Krish's picks,
Yep. Energy at the IFL Cup. Keep that same energy.
Oh, I will. Don't you worry.
let's go to Cody next on the picks.
All right, I'll do a rundown really quick. I've already got my preview out. Shameless plug for the Saturday games. Go check that out in the alley. For these 2 Saturday games, Fishers and Orlando, actually plus 8.5 for the Pirates. I think their passing game can keep them in this. If it does tend to get high scoring, they're going to need it. And we know Fishers can put up points. So maybe take the over 2, but I can also see the under going if Fishers wants to waste some time, do some clock possession. And apparently Orlando, they love time of possession. So that's a thing too. But give me the Pirates plus 8.5. I think there's a chance that they can cover. It's over a touchdown. So you get a nice little buffer there with a touchdown and 2-point conversion spread. For Northern Arizona and San Antonio, I'm going under. And I think I said in my preview, I don't think San Antonio has reached 40 points at all this season. They got 2 wins. Now they're playing Northern Arizona, who they held to 14 points just a couple weeks ago. We know that, we know that Northern Arizona has kind of been in flux, dare I say. Ramon Atkins has more interceptions than touchdowns. San Antonio's defense, pretty good. So I'm taking the under here. I do think San Antonio does get the victory, but I just don't know. I just don't trust the spread just yet because we know that San Antonio can have a tendency of kind of falling on their face a little bit too. And that money line is just a little too rich for my blood. For the games tomorrow, Tulsa and Jacksonville, just give me the Jacksonville money line. I like the idea of Tulsa coming into this. They have played a very tough schedule with the losses that they've occurred and the close losses and everything like that. They're going on the road, though, and Jacksonville, they do play pretty well at home. I like what the Sharks have put together. All things considered, they've played very, very well this season. This will be a very tough game. It's a very, very tough game to predict. That's the reason I'm just taking the money line. I don't trust the spread. I don't trust an over-under because I can see both scenarios for both sides. I can see Tulsa pulling the upset. I can also see Jacksonville winning by over a touchdown. So just throw that all out the window. Minus 175 for the Sharks. And then the nightcap, minus 14.5 for Arizona. Again, we don't know what Tucson is. They've gone through their quarterback roulette for yet another season. Obviously, James Fuller was let go or mutually parted or whatever. So we don't know what the offense is even going to be when it comes to that. The defense, it's all right, but we've got an Arizona team that just lost to Vegas. Kevin Guy, he's going to meet someone else in the tunnel this week. And I don't know. There's a pissed off Rattlers team. They're going to get ready to go. They want to flex their muscle before the Indoor Football League Cup. So give me the Rattlers minus 14.5 at home before they head out to New Jersey.
Trey, you must have known you were next. I saw you unmuted your mic. So
and then I have a question for Trey after. I'm going to put him on the spot.
Oh, I love this. Love it so much. So I agree with Krish's sentiment on the Fishers Orlando game. Believe it or not, despite the spend zones that get thrown out there, 8.5 I think is a little wide of a number. All things considered, I like the home dog spot for Orlando. I'm not sure if they win, but I feel like they will cover the 8.5. The 96.5, I don't like that number at all, so I'm just going to stay away from it entirely. San Antonio, Northern Arizona, stinky. This game is going to be one of the games of all time. Probably lean San Antonio 7.5, just because I need to see something. I need to see some sign of life from Northern Arizona before I even dream to pick them again this season. Tulsa, Jacksonville. I like Tulsa plus 4.5. I think this is going to be a turning point for Tulsa. I think they do win this game outright. The 3 games that they've lost by a total of 9 points. So they play games close. It feels like TJ Edwards is playing at an unreal level right now, passing the ball through the air and getting German Smith in the mix. And it's all going to come down to that Tulsa defense being able to get some stops and stop that running game that has just had trouble getting started for the Sharks the past few games, despite having Jimmy Robinson at running back. Jacksonville, I'm just not sure how to feel about them yet. Like, they are 3-1. They do have some wins to their name. But the wins that they do have, are we sure those are quality wins? Like, they beat up on Northern Arizona. They beat up on, well, not beat up, but they inched by New Mexico, and then they beat the heck out of some other team. So I don't know. I don't know how to feel about them just yet. So give me Tulsa plus 4.5, and then Arizona minus 14.5. That half on the 14.5 feels like the hook that's going to ruin a lot of people's Sunday nights, but give me the 14.5. Kevin Guy and that offense, Max Myler, Kemo Clark, Ron Brown. I really like what they're able to do, and it feels like they're just going to pile it on.
Krish, your question?
Yeah, so Trey, from a fan, this is an actual serious question. From a fan perspective, what are you looking for, from the Orlando Pirate experience? And how many fans do you hope to be in the building will make you happy?
Oh, man. Well, happy is a range. I would love to see a full house, but transparently, about 1.5 miles, 2 miles from the Kia Center tonight is a music festival called Rolling Loud that's happening at Camping World Stadium. So it's a big event that's drawing a lot of people that may cause a little bit of mayhem downtown. But I would love to see a filled or Kia Center. That would make my Orlando loving heart very happy. But if they can get the bowl 2/3 full, I think that would be a big win. And I'm just looking forward to seeing what the Pirates hospitality and experience is all about. I'm looking forward to meeting a bunch of folks within the org and on the team, and just seeing where the day takes us.
It's gonna be fun. You'll have a good time. Come on, man. Really, I don't understand. You know what?
Oh man, now we can understand why you get pushed in games, Coach. Just saying, the trolling and the trash talk is next level. TJ, what are your picks, and do you have any bets that you're kind of looking at this week?
First off, hey man, leave Coach Davis alone. That's my coach. The first game, listen, I like to make fun of Krish and pick on him. He's like the little brother on the show, but I truly did bet my money on Fishers with the spread minus 8.5. I think honestly they're gonna pull away and win in the end by like 2 or 3 scores. I really do. I think it's going to be one of those games where Orlando keeps it close, but then in the end, you have to go for it on 4th and long at your own, say 8-yard line. Fishers gets a cheap score if they hold them, kind of thing. I think that's what's going to happen towards the end of that one. San Antonio and Northern Arizona. I'm leaning towards San Antonio, but I'm going money line. I don't know what the spread that hook might get you, especially with the way they've been playing close games this season. in the games that they've been able to keep close anyway. Tulsa and Jacksonville. I'm leaning towards Jacksonville money line, no spread. And then the last game, like basically kind of like Cody said, Arizona, Kevin Guy, they are going to come out into this game. They're going to try to put belt to ass, make a statement after last week, everything that happened and going into the IFL Cup. They're going to make it. Watch out for us in this game. I honestly feel a little bad for Tucson. So I take Arizona minus 14.5. And I'd probably take the over 2 because I can totally see Arizona purposely running up the score no matter what it is on the board.
I like that sentiment there. Kevin Guy is definitely known to run up the score a little bit. And it would not shock me at all to see that happen in this game. Now seems like a great time to take a commercial break right before we get into the AF1 stuff. Primarily just transactional information this week, quite a bit out of Oregon and Washington. Also, kind of a flurry of moves from Albany randomly, which we'll get to in a minute. But on that note, quick commercial break.
You know what, Coach? No. You know what? I'm done, man. I want to see how many fans you could draw if you played.
Go to commercial.
T-Mobile Arena. Honestly, let's see. That's the same size as the Kia Center, and then we can talk. Okay? The team.
Press the button.
It's a process, man. It's a process. That's it. T-Mobile. Play a game in T-Mobile. We'll talk.
Size matters, for more than one reason.
It would be so great if T-Mobile was actually our sponsor.
The mountains you climb. Maybe stairs. The records you set. Maybe personal. The fans you inspire. Maybe family. No lights, no camera, just action. You don't have to be a pro. You just need HoneyStinger.
Three, four times, maybe.
I'm gonna pump those numbers up. Those are rookie numbers in this racket.
That's right. If you have not shared this stream yet, make sure you do us a solid and share this with all the indoor football fans in your life, or just sports fans in general that are not privy to indoor football that would like to learn some more. Before we get into the next topic at hand, we just came out of the IFL section, and I have not yet mentioned our giveaway today. So if you would like to hold on to a piece of the turf that the Sioux Falls Storm once played on, all you have to do is some few simple steps, which can be listed on the show or the screen right at the moment. But follow Indoor and Arena Football History on TikTok and or Facebook. Find the contest keyword. Join our mailing list at shadysportsnetwork.com. Comment the contest keyword live during Around the Indoor Football World. This second step right here is incredibly important. If you do not do that step, I have no way of contacting you to let you know you won. So definitely make sure you sign up for the mailing list at shadysportsnetwork.com. Also, there is a third way to enter that is one step. Well, really two steps because I still need the email, but you can donate a small amount to Sammy Strong Foundation, which obviously, as we mentioned before, supports families that are dealing with pediatric brain cancer. If you can't support that cause, my God, what can you support? So on that note, we're going to talk about the AF1, the Arena Football 1, to close out today's episode. And we've got a lot of transaction information primarily. The main things that I wanted to get to was there's been quite the shuffle as of late in Washington. Seems like they're really trying to get back on track. They have released Jadarius Byrd. They signed Eugene Ford, former Pirate player, if I remember correctly. They also made an interesting trade. They traded kicker Evan Byrd for quarterback Eric Phoenix. However, I believe Eric Phoenix did not decide to report and was subsequently released, if I remember correctly. Let me double check on that before I say that for certain. But they also signed Deshaun Williams and kicker Luis Faria from recently with Colorado and Salina Liberty. So I wanted to let's go to Cody first on this one. What are your thoughts about these moves for Washington? Is there anybody that kind of sticks out to you on that list?
Hold on, I'm trying to pull it up because there's a lot of transactions that have gone on. And it's only letting me pull up the stuff from like May 1st. So give me 1 sec. But no, like I think the biggest signings, we haven't even touched on it yet. I think Phoenix Sproles going to Minnesota is probably one of the biggest gets. You know, going from Vegas out to Minnesota to help out that. I mean, definitely there's been some other things along with it too, like Jadarius Byrd, Henry Nell being released. I mean, those are, yeah, but at the same time, like, I don't know. For Washington in particular, is it enough to turn the corner? I don't think so. I mean, point to me who's going to turn that team around, man. That's all I'm going to say. They've got players, but is it enough of a team to earn any win? They played Albany close. I get that. But at the same time, I just don't think it's anything that can really – it can point them in the right direction, but it doesn't mean it's going to turn into wins. That's the best way I can kind of say it. I'm not going to be like Krish and trash them or anything like that. They're trying. They're putting in effort. It's just not good enough right now.
Wait, hold on. So this is year 3, though. How can we say that they're trying?
Do you try every year? Do you not?
But in business, do you try or do we see results? Maybe that's.
Do you in business, you try every single quarter. You've got different quarters you go through depending on the business that you're in. If you don't hit those goals in quarter 2, you try and hit those goals in quarter 3. You try and you try and you try. What are you talking about?
Or you're dead by quarter 4.
If you're dead by quarter 4, then you didn't try hard enough. Did I not just say that? You can still get results if it's not the results you want. There's still results.
Krish, I see what you're trying to say here. I see it. Okay. And in year 3, probably a good time to be demanding some results for sure, especially from a business perspective. But yeah, I see your point. But like Cody said, I mean, at this point, I don't know if there's any turning this franchise around. You know, it's kind of too far gone at this point, especially because Oregon's looked like the better team, and they just actually added a few players that I think might make them a little bit better down the stretch, actually. So, kind of throw those guys out there. Arnell Anderson, Donovan Raspberry, Neville Smith, all have joined Oregon. So they could be kind of a little bit of a boon there for them at the end. And Minnesota is also making quite a few moves as of late as well. Shannon Brooks goes to IR. Jamal Couch comes back from IR. Donovan Ollie also was placed on IR from Oregon as well. I missed that just a moment ago. So a couple moves there from, as mentioned, Oregon. A couple moves there from Minnesota. Krish, is there any move that sticks out to you? Cody mentioned Phoenix Sproles.
Yeah, that move sticks out to me. It's a bad decision on his part. I think sometimes, right, like his uncle, the special teams coordinator in Minnesota, sometimes when you want to get something, you have to be in an uncomfortable position to get it. And, he wants to move up to the next level. That coaching staff in Minnesota, Tony O'Neill, Coach Jackson, they're not going to help him get to a higher level, right? He needs to be around, Coach David and that competitive receiving room to elevate. Because when you're around I've seen it before in person, right? When you're around great players, you become a better player. And I think he could have become a really good player. And I think he was hoping for that year 2 kind of breakout season. But maybe if he stayed and he waited till year 3, that could have been his breakout season. He's still super young. He still has an opportunity to elevate. It's not now or never for him, but I feel like he just wanted to take the easy way out and go to Minnesota. So I know Cody said, in our chat about, him getting an opportunity, which I agree it's an opportunity, but it's an easier opportunity, It's just a mindset, a generational mindset, in my opinion, unfortunately.
I can see your point, but I would also make the argument that this might be a philosophical difference between the IFL and the AF1. We all know the AF1 is going to throw the ball a lot more. If you're a receiver, it makes some logistical sense for you to go to the AF1 if you have that opportunity, because regardless of if you're wide receiver 4 or wide receiver 1, there's a larger target share to go around. So I think maybe that might have weighed in on some of his decision-making. I haven't talked to him, so I'm not sure. I would think that from a wide receiver's perspective, I could see, hey, I'm 5, 6, 7 games into my IFL season. I've got 16 catches. Do I want to continue down this road, or do I want to go to Minnesota where, as a wide receiver 3, I'm probably going to have 30 catches or whatever it may be, or and obviously those are just some rough numbers, but I could see that factoring into some of his decision making, as well as I think he's from around the Minnesota area or something like that.
He's a native.
I imagine that factored in. I mean, obviously, at the end of the day, we talk about this a lot at this level, right? These guys aren't making millions. So, I mean, if you get to go play in front of friends and family, that probably is worth a lot at this level, And so I think that's probably an important reason why he makes that decision. I also think it's an important reason why Minnesota, on the flip side, makes that move, right? You bring in a guy who's probably going to draw some fans into the stands. So I like that move as well. So, TJ, any moves that stick out from this last 4 days of movement?
Yeah, I like what Oregon did, signing a pair of receivers in Raspberry and Anderson, trying to bolster up that offense. Like you just said, arena style, way more passing involved. You need wide receivers, and they're trying to plug some guys in. Speaking on Washington, man, I was on the hype train. I was really hoping that they were, going to turn the corner and be a little bit more competitive this season. They're basically their player dump and signing. They're just trying whatever they can to try and ink out a couple extra wins, but not to sound too harsh, but I mean, I think at this point you kind of play this season out and just tinker with different things. But I think it may be time to decide going into this offseason if you are going to basically wash the entire franchise and start over with new personnel potentially, or if you're, just basically going to keep going with this, I don't want to say mediocrity, but lack of results in terms of winning. I think it's definitely decision time. If it wasn't going into this season, it's definitely for next season.
So yeah, a lot of moves have happened. I mean, honestly, I'm not going to sit here and reiterate what you guys have already said.
I know Anderson, by the way, not a receiver. He's a linebacker.
That's a typo by the website. So he plays linebacker, and I was going to mention that as well. So semi-pro coaches pretending to be pro coaches have a whopping 1 win across the NAL and AF1 this year. It doesn't work. Much respect to both, but the player personnel side and overall organization just ain't it for either that I'm referring to. Check that if you include the mess in Dallas. It's for his uncle is the special teams coach. Okay, so that definitely helps as well.
Yeah,
but
like I said, it's a cute family move. We'll see how it works out for him. He's a good player. He made a mistake. I hope it goes well for him.
Well, he's in year 3, so if it doesn't work, you cut him.
Dude, I'm being honest. Like, I'm not gonna say, oh my God, what like he made a mistake. He should have left Vegas. He should have stayed.
All right. Well, any other final thoughts that we want to get to before we wrap this bad boy up?
Just the picks. My AF1 picks for this week.
We don't need to do AF1 picks. Just kidding. Let me pull those up real quick.
Nova coming back to Albany is pretty big. It's the move.
We talked about that last week, though.
Well, it's official now.
Yeah, it was official then. It was. He was removed off of the.
Because he put a sign back with Houston. With Talia getting hurt, right?
Talia's been cut now, so I mean that was one of the subjects for today that we were supposed to bring up.
Like that's how the UFL operates. They cut players.
No, that has nothing to do with it. They made a move. They didn't want to keep Talia. If Talia had been hurt and they wanted to keep him, they would have 100% kept him on the roster.
But are you supposed to keep players that are hurt, right? Like, isn't that
There's an injured reserve, yeah.
So,
in fact, if we want to have this conversation, Houston carried 2 injured quarterbacks the entire time Talia was on the roster. Neither one went to injured reserve. Hunter Deckers and Nolan Henderson. Both of them were carried while they were injured. So it's not a UFL thing. It's they saw enough of Talia. He was not playing well. It was time to move on. That's why they signed John Rice Plumlee. But this is not our UFL show. That's tomorrow. And obviously you can tell I've been paying attention for that show as well. So,
so when you get hurt in your job, in your line of work, and they fire you, it's okay, right? Okay. Noted.
Is that what I said?
That's what I'm interpreting it as.
You like to twist a lot of things I say. So we'll just leave that at that. But anyway, we'll go ahead and pull up these games so you can.
Where's Coach D on this? Because his boy Adam Plant got cut too, and he was hurt. It's not right.
Same thing happens indoors all the time. So are we not going to talk about that?
It happens outdoors too as well. Injured players get released all the time, man.
Yeah. For the record, I mean, just because they're released doesn't mean they don't have a workman's comp claim.
Vegas just had Jerome Buckner on short-term injured reserve, and they released him.
Yeah. So I don't understand the disdain for the UFL, Krish, especially when you parade the fact that a lot of your players move up to the UFL.
I watch every UFL game like that.
But you also take an opportunity to trash on it every chance you get.
Yeah, I mean, I have my opinion about it, but
that's fair. I'm just saying. But anyway, here are the games for this weekend of the AF1. Actually, a pretty good slate as well. Michigan versus Minnesota should be an interesting game, as well as Kentucky versus Albany. TJ alluded to it earlier that just in time for the Kentucky-Albany game, Sam Castronova is back for sure. So definitely interested to see exactly how that's going to work out. Oregon versus Nashville could turn into a blowout. Beaumont versus Washington should be an interesting game as well. Let's go to Krish first on the pick.
Yeah, I mean, should I just go down the line? Okay, so Washington, Beaumont. I think Beaumont will get the win. Washington is going to continue to build. I think Akil played a great game. I hope Akil goes off today and has a day. I got Beaumont winning by 7. Oregon and we don't cut injured players. Yeah. Again, I got no comment on that. I'm happy you operate like that. It's good. Oregon and Nashville. Nashville is going to win this game. I think Oregon has a good chance to keep it close, though. Because Robert McCoy is coming in for Dalton Cole. He played great last game. 3 touchdowns, no turnovers. I'm excited to see him. I love Robert McCoy. I love watching Robert McCoy play. So I'm excited to see him against Nashville. Minnesota, Michigan. Man, this is a must-win game for Michigan. I think Ben McCoy's presence in the building. I really think Michigan can. I think Michigan can win this game, man. I think they can win it, but unfortunately, I think Minnesota's going to win. Michigan's offensive line is not where it needs to be yet, but Malik will have a great game, doing Minnesota by 5. Albany and Kentucky. This is hard, man. I think Albany, man. Castanova coming back. It's too much. So give me Albany.
Fair point. We may or may not have an episode coming up debating the best quarterbacks ever in indoor and arena football. Spoiler alert, I may or may not be a fan of Sam Castronova in that race. Uh, with that being said, TJ, what are your picks for this week?
Man, you had to bring that topic up. The for the first game, that's kind of a coin toss. I got to go with Beaumont. We just talked about how Washington can't really seem to get it going, so I'll pick Beaumont at home. Oregon and Nashville. I'm picking Nashville. This game, depending on how Oregon plays, it could be pretty close throughout, or it could be over by halftime. It really just depends. Minnesota and Michigan. I'm gonna keep. I'm gonna ride the hype train. I'm gonna pick Michigan at home, and then for Kentucky and Albany, Castronova comes back. Ironically, against like the toughest opponent they faced so far this season. Great timing, but I'm going to stick with my Kentucky Barrels. I think they're going to go into Albany and pull off the upset win.
Sounds good. Cody, picks?
Yeah, so let's start it off here. We just kind of dogged on Washington a little bit, so I can't really pick them to beat Beaumont. Beaumont's at home. Give me the Renegades when it comes to that. Nashville and Oregon. Well, Oregon seems to be playing better. Nashville is playing better too. So give me the Cats at home with that. And I guess I'm just going to sweep it for all the home teams here because while Minnesota might look like the better team, I will just pick the upset when it comes to this one. I think Michigan could get it done at home. Again, not shocked if Minnesota takes the victory on the road or anything like that, but give me Michigan and an upset. I got to do something like that. And then between Kentucky and Albany, if Castronova's coming back, you do wonder, like, is there any chemistry between what Kolka had and now Castronova's putting it in there? I don't know. So I'm still going Albany, but I think that game should be close. Kentucky can give them a run for their money, but give me Albany when it comes to that.
I will not point out putting it in there sounds very weird.
I could have chosen my words better, Sam. I'll be honest.
It wasn't quite as bad as we're going to run a train on them or oil them up or something about.
I got some good ones for Vegas, man. I got a good one for Vegas. I'm going to save that for next week, though.
Sounds good. Also, I'm very shocked and appalled. This comment caught me off guard. This is somebody who is employed by the IFL saying something nice about the AF1. Apparently, you guys didn't get the memo. You're not supposed to like each other. Come on, man. Like, what are you doing? I'm just kidding. Totally kidding. I actually like to see that stuff, and I firmly encourage that we all build each other up as a sport as a whole because it's good for everybody, right? So I think regardless of if the AF1's doing good, the IFL's doing good, or the TAL or the NAL or the AAL, it's good for everybody, right?
Yeah, it's kind of funny for that SportsCenter clip. Someone tagged me in it on Instagram. One of my friends, he goes, Cody, who are these two teams? And I was like, it's Kentucky and Nashville. And he goes, I knew you would know who they were. And I was like, yeah, fair enough. So I'm just like, all right, cool. If it gets people to watch the clips and everything, I'm doing something right.
Agreed. And that's what it's all about, right? That's why we're here every Saturday morning. We want the game to continue to grow. We want it to get back to the point where it's on national television and people talk about it like they talk about the NFL and stuff like that. So let's continue to do our part. Support your local indoor football team, regardless of where you live or the closest one or what league they are in. Just support them. Go buy some gear, show up to games, bring your kids, bring your girlfriend, whatever it may be, make it happen. So on that note, we're going to go ahead and close this one out. We had a great guest in Trey. We have a great interview to close this video or this episode out.
Big news coming this week. It should be announced this week, but Rob Keefe is expected to be the head coach down in Athens in the IFL. So I just figured I'd throw that out there. Excited, to see that happen and what that looks like. So interesting.
That definitely will be something to watch. But we're going to leave you guys with an interview with Taylor Jennisser, right? There we go. What? Hell yeah. Right before the show ended. I love
Davis' son right here. Second son.
Well, took 2.5 hours and he pronounces it correctly.
There we go.
Honestly, he's old enough. He's old enough to be Coach Davis' son, I think. Just think about it.
I don't think Coach Davis is quite in his 60s yet. Could be wrong on that. But Jennisser is 35 tomorrow. Actually, his birthday is tomorrow. So thank you, Coach, for joining us 2 days before your birthday.
Yeah.
Really appreciate that. And then, like I said, we wish him nothing but luck going forward. But thank you guys all for joining us on this episode. On that note, we're going to go ahead and sign off. This is a pre-recorded portion of the episode, so we'll still be here for some comments and stuff. But enjoy it. All right, we are joined by a very special guest this morning, Taylor Jenier, with the San Diego Strike Force, which we are extremely excited to finally have on. We've been working on this for a while behind the scenes. So Coach is a very busy man, as I am as well, and Cody is as well. So we finally gotten this knocked out. So before we get started, Coach, how are you doing this morning?
I'm great, man. How are you guys doing?
Doing great. Thank you so much for joining us, Cody.
I'm doing fine. Just happy to be here, part of it, ask some questions, get to know you, and have you get to know us, and kind of go full circle with it.
No, I appreciate the phone tag. I'm like, hey, I'm not going to let it not happen. We got to make it happen. So, I want to reach out to you on this second bye week and be like, hey, man, ball's in your court, man. I got this week off, so I'm glad we made it happen.
Hey, well, I appreciated that, and I also appreciate you agreeing on such late notice. I was like, hey, I can make this happen tonight. Let's make it happen. So
Heck yeah,
I really
man, anytime.
appreciate you jumping on it. So I'm actually going to take a cue from another host on our show that's not with us tonight, but his name's Cool McCain. And what he does when he does interviews with people is he kind of lets them introduce themselves in their own words and then kind of gets into the questions. So I wanted to give you an opportunity to introduce yourself in your own words, if you don't mind.
Okay. Hey, I haven't filled out a resume in a little while. I guess it's for a good reason, but I'll give it a shot right here. I'm Taylor Jenier. I pretty much go by TG. Everyone calls me Coach TG. I'm from Fresno, California, and I played JUCO ball and played Division II ball. And I was one of those indoor players where I was not cut from the NFL, CFL, UFL. I was a guy that this was my next, my highest level. So getting in the indoor game from a D2 school is awesome. I played 4 years, played in a few different leagues. But I took a real liking to the IFL. I found out San Diego was going to get a team. I was already coaching high school football in the Fresno area. And I'm like, man, I've always wanted to move to San Diego because I've got family down here. And it just all kind of worked out. And I've been here since 2019. I've been with the Strike Force, and I've also coached at Helix Charter High School and San Diego Mesa College. And yeah, I'm just loving everything about football in San Diego, and I'm really happy to be here.
Absolutely. So I know you kind of glossed over that real quickly, and I don't want to, spend a ton of time on your playing career because obviously we're kind of more concerned about the current time. But I did want to ask you, how did you initially become aware of leagues like the IFL, the CIF, and leagues like that when you came out of college initially?
This is kind of a random one for you, but when I was playing in New Mexico Highlands, I knew the New Mexico Stars was a thing. Growing up in Fresno, I knew about the Central Valley Coyotes, and I believe they were the Fresno Frenzy at one point. And then there was one summer where I was just watching a lot of arena football, and I'd also heard Terrell Owens was playing for a team. It was the Allen Wranglers at the time, and I'm like, oh, arena and indoor. It's kind of two different things. And I guess I kind of did my own homework on what the indoor game was like, and that really kind of fit my skill set. Although, of course, if the AFL called me at the time, I would have wanted to go, but I probably wasn't the criteria they were looking for. So I jumped into the indoor game, and I loved it. And yeah, I guess just kind of being an aware quarterback, I kind of knew about all the opportunities to play football because I wanted to get on the field.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I should have known the vaunted New Mexico Highlands to Duke City pipeline there.
Absolutely.
But Cody, do you have anything for Coach?
Yeah, so let's kick it off going into kind of that, coaching career. We'll skip ahead a little bit. You are the head coach now of the San Diego Strike Force, but you weren't until you were. I'm not saying go behind the scenes or get into the nitty-gritty, but what was that experience like knowing that, hey, the head man gets fired, you're now the interim tag gets, taken off, and now you're the go-to guy. What was that feeling like going hey, I've got to be the guy to coach this team for the last couple of games in this season and going forward?
Well, if we had a quarterback on our roster, I would have probably had some different emotions. But I inherited a team, ironically, on my birthday. This was in 2022. Kind of a weird deal. The front office and the head coach just kind of weren't seeing eye to eye. I'd be lying if I said he got fired. There was kind of, a few things involved. Like I got his back on that one as well. He was a good dude, and unfortunately, he just wasn't able to continue coaching that season. And for me, since I was already an offensive play caller, I just had to just kind of change my hat. And I always say I always say the one most important job, the two most important jobs I've ever had to prepare me for this. Okay, my first head coaching job, aka my first coaching job. I was the Powder Puff head coach in high school. That shouldn't be a surprise to you. When I tell you I had Division I athletes all over the field, like we had these girls going Division I for soccer, for basketball, for track, for softball. And it's like I've never had so much talent on the field ever when it comes to like most D1 athletes other than what I had there. And as crazy as it sounds, in high school, I had the opportunity to manage a roster, install an offense, figure out how to do special teams, build a staff full of my friends, and make sure that we all were working together to win a game. So ironically, that powder puff thing was kind of like, okay, I think I can do this when I'm done playing. And then when I was coaching high school at Clovis West High School, I did 4 years there, wanted to become a play caller. So then my next most important job, my actual most important one, was I was a JV head coach, and I basically had the opportunity to sink or swim. And there was a guy named Tim Simons, who was the head freshman coach at Clovis North High School, who literally was a wealth of knowledge, coached at Fresno State, was a championship winning head coach all the way through. And he was just able to mentor me, while trying to figure out like how to do compliance work. Like, oh, I got to turn in this for the buses. Oh, I got to do this for grade checks. But it gave me the ability to realize I know nothing about special teams. I know nothing about structure of how to call a defense. I know nothing about offensive line play other than this is how you draw it up. So I had to go learn. So I found myself studying a whole lot more than how to throw the ball and catch the ball, and it really held me accountable. I was a 4-5 head coach as a JV head coach. I only did 1 year, and then the strike force thing opened up. But I think me having the ability, and I hate to say make mistakes, but make mistakes and get some of those things out of there. Like I had to build a practice script. If you told me that I have to build a practice script for the strike force when I take the job, and I never done it before, I'd stress over it. First thing I did, went to my head JV practice script, who of course I stole from a varsity coach and applied it here. So just it's completely different levels, but I at least got some of that anxiety out of there when it came to some of that work. So sorry for the long-winded answer, but I just felt like that was the most appropriate way to explain it.
No, that's what we encourage. I mean, kind of hearing the details behind the story is great, and great question, Cody. So, I mean, I'm curious. I mean, again, you don't have to peel back the curtain too much for us, but how did the conversation go when they initially told you, like, hey, we want you to be the interim head coach going forward? And like, was there an initial conversation like this could turn into a long-term opportunity, or was it like, we'll see how things go?
To quote the head coach at San Diego Mesa College, who I worked for, he always tells our starting quarterback, "Here's the the keys of the Ferrari. Definitely don't drive the speed limit." So that was my biggest thing. I got handed the keys, and I was just gonna go 1,000 miles an hour and just try to do what I knew how to do. Now to win immediately, I don't know if that was necessarily expected of me to like take a team to the playoffs at that point and do all that, but I felt like we got pretty competitive. We got ourselves a big win against Bay Area where we kind of played all three phases of football. My first win as the interim head coach, Devontae Sapp Lynch was our kicker. Forced a fumble and scored a touchdown. Yes, I said Devontae Sapp Lynch. You know what I'm saying? Like that's just how my first win as an interim head coach was. It was just weird. And then that was the only one I had that year. But we were competitive. I really learned how to listen to players. What they see out there. What they were seeing in coverage, and I was able to realize, dang, we got some smart guys here that know what they're talking about. And we basically just kind of formed what we were going to have going into the next year. But the conversation I really had was, hey man, like you're the interim head coach now. Good luck. That was basically it. There wasn't any kind of fun moment or anything. It was just like, all right, time to go.
Yeah. So with your time being a coach, there's a big trade that happens, and suddenly you've got a quarterback. Can you take us through how that kind of came to fruition? And I mean, you can get as detailed as you want with it, the good and the bad. I'm not going to try and like spread rumors or anything, but like we hear it on the broadcast of like Nate Davis is calling his own plays. You're being an offensive minded guy. Was there any sort of friction with that, or was it like you guys came together and said, these are the plays that I want to call? Well, these are the plays that I want to call, and kind of just riffed off each other from that?
Well, here's the beauty about Nate. I played against him. He's arguably the best quarterback that I ever played against indoors, and he was phenomenal. And then when I got into coaching, I saw he was playing for Duke City. Naturally, just here's the thing about Nate and kind of about quarterbacks in indoor football. It's like it's definitely a fraternity. Like we all kind of keep an eye on each other, and it's like it's good to see type stuff. And a lot of times those matchups aren't just one time because, as you guys see, there's a lot of consistent quarterbacks playing in our league. Nate keeps in touch with everybody, and that's what's great about him is he's a great mentor to quarterbacks to everybody. And I very much felt a connection playing against him because he would go throw a touchdown, come to the end of the bench, tell me what he read against our defense, and say, "Hey, good luck, go score on our guys." Like that kind of a deal. So when I had the opportunity to trade for him, I'd already been watching him in Duke City going crazy because I played with Dello Davis, and I'm watching Dello, and Nate's cooking with Dello in Duke City. So I guess I was a Duke City fan for a little while, and when I got into the situation to need a quarterback, I don't want to throw these guys under the bus. I probably should have put them in better situations as well. But we scored 9 points at Northern Arizona. We scored 9 points, and I had already kind of known that, we were looking for another quarterback at that point to at least go push our guys we had. But we scored 9 points. And then, that week, I'm like, hey, I got to make the call. I got to figure it out. There was mutual interest. The week before we scored 9 points, but we just couldn't get the deal done. And, we pulled the trigger on it. And ever since then, ever since Nate's gotten here, naturally we're quarterback guys and I'm his coach. And, we got to spend time together. We spend a lot of time together. We watch a lot of film, and we're on the same page when it comes to film. The beauty of what we've got going on is, hey, I'll just say it. Nate lived with me for a year, like straight up. Nate was my neighbor for one full season, okay, or for that half season. Then he was my neighbor for one full season. Then we lived together for one full season after that. And this is the first year we haven't been within the same apartment complex of each other. And the trust that's built, and I think anyone that plays golf understands that if you have a consistent golf partner, like you're probably okay with hanging out with that person and you have hours of conversations. Nate and I will play golf and debrief on an entire season if we need to, let alone breaking down a game. So it's just it doesn't bother me at all that he gets all that credit because he does. But the biggest thing that he does for me is he executes the assignments that I give him, and he holds himself accountable when he doesn't. So, hey, that's what we got going. So I'm excited. I'm picking him up on Monday morning. We're going to play around the golf for my birthday. And he just got some new clubs, but he's not bringing them back. So he's got to use these ones here. So I'm going to try to make sure I have an advantage on him this week.
I love it.
Definitely. Sorry, go ahead, Cody.
Oh, I was just going to say I love it. That's a beautiful answer. It's being able to, like I said, quarterback and coach riff off of each other, and it goes way beyond just the scope of the football field.
Absolutely. And like for me, Nate's funny. Like I try to play rec sports. I'm over here like I'm trying to play every single like rec sport in my 30s and just try to get that competitive edge. Nate has literally gone to almost all of my different sporting shenanigans that I've played at, and he records them. And then let me tell you right now, that's the biggest critic I have if I do something wrong. So he's just, it's funny. We have a saying around here, right? It's like, Nate, I don't care what they say about you, dog. You're a good dude. So that's one of our sayings. So that's pretty much what we got going.
I mean, I can just see it right now. You're about to call a play, and he's like, we're not calling that play. And you're like, well, let's do that. We'll score it. And he's like, no, I've got this video of you. We're not doing it.
And that's the thing. That conversation's never happened. That's
damn.
the respect factor. It's never happened. It's, hey, we need to pound the ball here. Cool. He's doing it. But a lot of times I don't ever have to have that conversation with him. I let him know, like, hey, we got a double move on such and such. Like, you know, if we have a matchup, Nate doesn't challenge me because he knows that we're in this together, and he also doesn't take advantage of, you know, what I give him the opportunity to do. And that's the beauty of it, is he's not calling a whole bunch of things that I don't want ran. It's stuff that I had already built before he got here, and then he took and ran with it and kind of installed his own. So it's great. We got a great thing we got going, and I just got cherished, you know, him being here, because, you know, it's when you have these vet quarterbacks, it's hard for quarterbacks or players, let alone to play this long. So you never know when another one's going to come around. So I'm just trying to enjoy it while we got him.
You kind of alluded to it there a moment ago. Nate Davis can't play forever. So, I mean, when you start to think about the future, have you guys ever had a conversation about him maybe joining your staff after he retires? Or, you know, have you even looked at, you know, potentially what that would look like or anything like that?
You know, like as us working together here, we're focused on the right now. But Nate and I have a lot of coaching conversations because he's been coaching youth football for years. You know, he's never okayed this title, but I call myself, you know, the senior offensive advisor for the Rio Rancho Spartans, his team that he's taken to nationals the last couple of years. And Nate's also the kind of guy, you know, when I'm coaching high school football and it's, you know, being live streamed, he's watching and he's texting me at halftime. That's just the kind of dude he is. So we already taught coaching philosophies, and even like end of the game situations. Yes, I talk to him like he's a quarterback, but a little more of an experienced quarterback. So rather than, hey, I just want you to hold the ball here, we're not snapping the ball. If you see us having a conversation looking at the clock, we're talking like, hey, let's not snap the ball here. Here's why we're going into the 1 minute warning. Instead of giving them second down there, let's have it be first down and let's play that game. Like, we talk like that. So we do kind of have a crossover of we communicate like coaches on the field, and that's what he's here to do. And then I got one more thing for you guys, okay? I got one more thing for you guys. If you want to see a competitive drill, and it's, of course, it'll never get out. I call the scout defense. I know what our opponent is running, and my job every day is to run the structure of their defense and try to stop Nate. I feel bad for defensive coordinators in our league. That's all I'm gonna say. But when he's not talking a bunch of crap to me, I know I dialed something up that gave him trouble. That's all I'm gonna say.
There you go. Well, hey, I do want to kind of talk about, I mean, we've talked about coaching or potentially having Nate get into the coaching staff. Let's talk about the coaches that are already there.
Absolutely.
You know, you, like you mentioned, you kind of got thrown to the wolves, had to make mistakes, whatever you know, kind of put it as. But bringing in coaches like Rod Miller, Adam Shackelford, and is it Patrick Kelly, right? I just kind of want to give you, like, have you give the chance to give them their flowers. Obviously, Adam Shackelford's been a veteran of the game, Rod Miller as well, too. And, like, it just, everyone that you've brought in has just helped this team. It's gotten to the point where, like, I'll throw my hand up. I didn't think San Diego would amount to much in the last couple of years, and they've made Western Conference championships. So I'm just like, I want to give you the chance to at least riff on these guys and be like, hey, we got some great coaches here in San Diego.
Absolutely. So, you know, I'll start with Patrick Kelly. Patrick Kelly is a guy that was on the staff when I became the interim head coach. And he's the kind of guy where he'll go run routes for you, and then he'll go make sure that there's food for you. Like, PK will do everything for you, but then also bring in corporate sponsorships, you know, make sure everything's handled. Like, that's the best part about PK is he's so versatile, and he does a great job for us. And he's been, honestly, him and I have been the most consistent people here since 2022, and I'm grateful for PK, as we call him. Coach Miller, you know, when we brought him in last year, he was you know, in Massachusetts the year before, and, you know, went to a title, and, you know, he was just kind of a free agent coach at the time. And I'm like, oh man, I played against Coach Miller, we've got a relationship, we've gone at it on the field competitive wise many times, and we had an opportunity to work together. Now after this season, you know, he had an opportunity to go some other places, so he did not come back here. I love Coach Miller to death, learned a ton from him. I talked to him on the phone a couple days ago. Awesome dude. So he just, you know, he wanted to come in here and try to help boost this thing. Of course, I'd love to have him here, but now having Coach Shackelford here now, who, yes, he was doing the offensive line last year and the recruiting, he's seen it all, done it all, and then he transitioned to being our defensive coordinator. The biggest thing for me is I didn't necessarily work in a staff for years, to where maybe I got mentored by a head coach and maybe he retires or does something else and I get my shot. I was kind of thrown to the wolves in a lot of senses. So having older coaches around me, I don't mean to say older, but you know what I mean, coaches that are more experienced than me around, really were kind of mentoring me, and I felt like they had my best interest at heart, and I never felt like they were trying to backdoor me or this and that. They're trying to elevate me with their experience, but at the same time, they always respected my decision making, and that's why I really respect the guys that we brought in. And my biggest thing is, if I don't trust you, I'll get you out the door, and that's plain and simple. I don't care how good you are. If I don't trust you, I'll get you out the door. So that's what I like about them. And having Coach Shaq now, he's seen it, done it, knows everybody. He's an encyclopedia. Coach Shaq's really doing a good job of teaching me how to do stuff outside of my coaching duties. I took on a lot of equipment roles, which I'm good at, but now he's showing me, how to go in the community, how to do corporate stuff, this, that, and the third. And Coach Shaq brings tremendous value outside of football, on-field football, and that's why it's great to have him here. So, and the last piece, how do I get people here? This weather ain't bad. I'm just gonna leave it at that.
Hey, having a great location to come play in or coach in is probably a distinct advantage for sure. So I don't know about everybody else, but I certainly would not turn down a job in San Diego, if it came my way. So
we got a commercial saying balling at the beach. So, I'm just trying to sell that.
I believe it. So obviously you have a quarterback like Nate Davis. You want to throw the ball a ton, but you also have a running back like Edward Vander, who, obviously I'm sure you've seen it around at one point or another. There's literally a hashtag feed Vander. So, I mean, how do you kind of balance that, giving him enough touches, hopefully not upsetting him, in the process, and kind of balancing him and Nate's abilities, so to speak?
Well, here's the beauty about Vander, right? And if you take the numbers, let's say we line up an empty, whether we're in 3-by-1 or 2-by-2 or whatever we're in. Okay, we know there's 3 linemen. We know there's 1 linebacker. If they want to play man coverage, are you telling me you're going to put your 4th best defender on Vander? So Vander doesn't hate running hitches and slants and playing a little bit of receiver out there. Now, of course, if he's playing in other systems, he's probably touching the ball a whole lot more. But when it comes to his longevity and stuff like that, we get him the ball in space, and he is another receiver out there. And a lot of times, the 4th best DB is guarding him. And we're going to take our chances, Vander on their 4th best guy more often than not. So I love the matchup that he creates. Now, of course, there's a way to run zone coverage and this and that. But, with someone like Nate, you got to kind of play games. And sometimes it's playing man and bringing pressure. Sometimes it's playing zone and rushing 1 or 2. When I tell you we've seen it all, we've seen it all. But Vander is just a matchup nightmare. That's the definition of a Swiss Army knife.
I had a feeling the answer was going to involve his value in the passing game, but that makes perfect sense. So, Cody, I'll toss it to you, man.
Oh, you're good. So I've said this in plenty of previews, even in the off-season previews that I've done. I do team-by-team previews. One of my favorite players in the entire indoor football league is Royce C. How good is he off the field, like during practices and stuff like that? And how does that translate to on the field? Because it just seems like he's everywhere all at once. He's able to bat down passes, pick them off. He's able to get in the backfield, sack the quarterback, or at least disrupt the timing or anything like that in order to just make a good play. And sometimes it doesn't even show up on the stat sheet, but his presence is felt.
Royce is the kind of guy where you never know where he is because you never have to worry about where he is. He's just always doing the right thing. On the field, he just brings a tremendous level of comfort. I know that we're going to be okay. And I know traditionally they call the middleman the free safety. He's the middleman of the front and the coverage. So with him being at that linebacker position, I know that, let's just say for some reason we get tempo, we don't get the call perfectly right, he's going to make sure we're lined up. And that's very, very, very important. Coach Shaq has a lot of trust in Royce. And the biggest thing that Royce is great at is he's unselfish. He understands his run fits. He's not going to go, let's say we're slanting the line to the field and we know they're going to run outside zone that way. Royce has every right to go fill over there. You know what I'm saying? Because he thinks the play is going that way, but no, he wants to play backside so that he can be there for cutback or quarterback pull or whatever. He's so disciplined and he cares about his team and his assignment. That's what we love about Royce. And on special teams, it's like, why is our starting linebacker, sometimes the first guy down on kickoff? That's like an effort thing that I talk about, but that's just who he is. So yeah, he's beating some DBs down there and stuff like that. Yes, I'd like those DBs to play a little faster, but Royce ain't trying to lose anybody. He's getting down there. He's trying to make plays, punch the ball out, and he is equally as good of a special teamer as he is on defense. He's unbelievable.
Great question, Cody. Honestly, we've talked about a lot of guys here: Royce C, Nate Davis, Edward Vander. All of these guys are veterans. Obviously, as we know, the IFL has the veteran rule. So I'm kind of curious from a roster building perspective, how do you kind of balance the value of a guy like Royce C, Nate Davis? You also have Ernesto Locayo. I mean, that's 4 veterans right there. So, I mean, how do you balance the guys that you really want to come back every year with the guys that maybe, it's time to transition on, stuff like that? I mean, that's got to be a tough decision when, kind of 4 of those decisions or three to 4 of those decisions are kind of made for you every year.
And something we do in the offseason, and we do a very good job of, okay, who are going to be our vets next year? Who are our year 3 guys right now? And, do we maybe see a future with them? We're not bringing in a year 3 guy if we feel like we don't want to keep them as a vet the following year. Now, of course, is it perfect? No, but like a year 3 guy, we expect veteran behavior from. For me, this may be an unpopular opinion, and this may answer some questions to some players that have been reaching out to me that feel like they deserve to be on our roster. I love the vet rule. I love it. Why? Because I believe that we are a league that needs to showcase your skill sets to get to the next level. Unfortunately, the CFL and the UFL are not signing these older players. And I've said it before, we are the professional of JUCO. Like, we are literally doing what JUCO football does at the pro level. Come in here and showcase your skills. And for a lot of us coaches, we are not afraid to send your film up. Okay? Because, I know this is an academic word, but matriculation. We want these guys to come in here and get out. We talk about matriculation a lot at the junior college. We want you to come in here and transfer out on scholarships. Same mindset. So that's why, I'm really passionate about this level, because I just look at it the same way. It's just that next level. Come in here, do what you're supposed to do, practice good habits, don't get lazy. And if you have lazy habits, then you and I are going to have a vet conversation later on, and I'm not going to bring you back because you're not a good vet. Or you come in here, you work hard, we tell the next level, you understand how to practice, you understand how to stay off the ground. As Will Blackman, our one of our new commentators, is saying, you got to keep your jersey clean. You can't be rolling on the ground. That's what we're trying to teach these guys. So that's pretty much where I'm at with this level is I don't want a whole bunch of old guys around. I want these young guys that are hungry, but if you are an older guy, you got to come in here and be just as hungry as the young guys are to help get them better. That's where we're at.
It's very well said, because I never kind of put like 2 and 2 together, because I've always thought that when it comes to recruiting, there's no draft in the indoor football league, or really, except for one indoor and arena league, there's no draft. So how do you go get those young guys? Do you go look at that JUCO tape? Do you go, network with other coaches? How do you go about that? Because like I said, at first I never put the JUCO, you're only here for a couple of years, but that's a perfect way to put it. But when it comes to recruiting, how do you find the young guys? I know you talk about trust, and if you trust them, or if not, they're out the door, but do you go scout your local high schools? Do you go find tape from other coaches? How do you go about that?
So the biggest thing for us is, when these guys finish playing, when all their eligibility is up, I never really want to be a coach that nags a college senior or college whatever year they're coming out. Like, hey man, come play for me, if they're still going through pro day training, if they still have, whatever CFL workouts, whatever UFL workouts. I want these guys to go one full year. And if they failed trying to achieve their dreams, at least they're not saying, oh, I took this indoor contract, but I should have. So for us, it's like, don't be lazy. Don't be lazy. For us, every offseason, I brought in I brought in Coach Shaq because he is one of the best in the business at recruiting. And I'm not going to pretend I had a way with recruiting, but Coach Shaq has really shown me.
Okay.
My bad if I got cut off there, guys. Pretty much with us having Coach Shaq here, he's done a fantastic job of teaching me how to recruit. The biggest part of recruiting is don't be lazy. Don't think, oh, this kid is a D3 player, this kid is a Division II guy, whatever. Like he's not gonna play. Like don't leave any stone unturned. So part of that is like, are you going to just sit around and watch the Senior Bowl highlights and be like, oh, that guy out of Notre Dame's pretty good. Oh, that guy, he's awesome. No, you're not going to get those guys. You're not. So, when it comes to looking at the smaller school all-star games and, the different kind of showcases, it's getting those rosters and having relationships, and then also having relationships with agents, with CFL coaches and GMs, with UFL coaches and GMs. It's just kind of building up your database of people but you have to have the patience to watch film. You can't look at a kid's school and be like, oh, he went to something with 10 names and west, east, whatever direction and be like, he can't play for us. No. Okay. That guy might have ended up there because of a circumstance, and that's your diamond in the rough that you don't know about. So you got to watch everybody's film. And I tell myself, everyone's film I watch, I have to watch at least 8 plays. I have to. I won't watch 1, 2, or 3. I have to watch 8 plays. But it is what it is. I just got to make sure that we know what we're seeing.
Love that answer. Love that answer for sure. Man, I was curious how that all worked for most coaches in the league, because like you said, I mean, every guy coming out of college, they typically think they're going to the league, right? So, a lot of guys don't even want to consider indoor football. So I like hearing that you kind of let them have that year, and then if they want to keep going at that point, that makes sense. One thing I wanted to talk to you about is recently I had shared a post about a current IFL event, we'll say, the situation between Coach Guy and Coach Davis. And you had a very interesting comment that I wanted to ask you about. And not, obviously, this isn't in a negative manner. I thought what you said was, it kind of highlighted how you are as a coach in my mind. So you said this platform is for the players. That's all you said. Nothing more, nothing less. And to me, it kind of said a lot. So in your mind, like, how do you feel about that situation as a coach that views it that way?
I mean, those two guys are two of the most competitive human beings I've ever met in my life. Did I need to comment on it? Not necessarily. It's just one of those things, and I'm guilty of it. I got a penalty 2 weeks ago, and it was over something stupid and kind of unnecessary that I didn't even need to argue. And at that point in the game, the commentators took me freaking out and getting a penalty away from the touchdown that we just scored on special teams a few minutes ago. You know what I mean? And stuff like that. So I just really believe that this platform is what I said it is. It's the junior college or pro football. This is where you come get your film, get exposure, and get out. And then, obviously there is the build your brand factor and stuff like that. But, I didn't love what I saw, but I understand it's competitive, and it's just, maybe it could have been handled a little differently. And then also having a little bit of fun. I don't want all the attention to be on them. San Diego's here too. It's not the big two over there. Like, it's not just Arizona and Vegas. Like, we're here too. We've knocked off the defending champions 2 years in a row, and I'm tired of being the bridesmaid. So also at the end of the day, it's kind of me poking the bear a little bit, having fun, whether it was mature or not. I said what I said and just kind of remind them, we're here too.
To be fair, I don't feel like you said anything out of line or in any way judged either person's actions. I think you were just simply saying that this is for the players, and maybe some of those actions might have taken away from that a little bit, which it's okay. Stuff happens. Like you said, you got heated as well a couple games ago. So, I mean, stuff happens. So hopefully we can all learn from that and move forward.
Absolutely. But that's the thing. Like, look, these players don't always get to see their coach's competitive nature come out. And we have to be whatever buttoned up means as much as possible. But at the same time, we're human beings. a lot of us played the game. A lot of us, still have some energy to want to run down on kickoff and then realize, oh man, that, I ain't got it anymore. Our players should also love seeing us get fired up. We just got to sometimes chill out a little bit. That's about it.
Okay, so hypothetically, if you wanted to push and fight a coach, who would? I'm just kidding. No, let's talk about this season really quick. You guys are sitting at 4-2. You're coming off a loss to Tulsa, which that was a very low-scoring affair until it wasn't. Can you take us a little bit through that game? You guys are on a bye week, thus the interview. And what things are you guys trying to look at from that loss? Now you have to sit on it, and then you get to play the next week.
We just didn't play well. When we get behind early and play in catch-up mode, it's not easy. Playing against Tucson a few weeks ago, it was a very weird game. It was low scoring. A lot of it was part of my doing. I wanted us to, whether anyone agrees or disagrees with me, this is the decision I made. I wanted to take their big running back out of the game. And what I mean by out of the game is make us only tackle him for a half. Take the ball first, bleed a little bit of clock. Not that we're scared, but at the same time, I don't want these guys tackling his big self all game. That's a big dude. Regardless of how good he is, my guy's got to hit him. And in result of that, some things happened where we slowed the game down and the score was low and this and that. And the only thing I regret is maybe our energy didn't pick up to start the next week because we started so slow before. On defense, we give up one on the first play. And then offensively, we had to do a few things to kind of figure it out to get to the end zone. And it became one of those games, whoever turns the ball over first. And, we had to deal with some onside kick issues and stuff like that. It was a road game. It was a road game in an environment that we just didn't play well in. And I don't care what anybody says about Tulsa's record. They're a very well-coached football team and a good football team. And I'm not afraid to say that was the most physical team we have played all year. Tulsa is physical, and I understand why they were playing pissed off football because I'm sure that they wish their record was better than it was, and they are a much better team than their record shows. And Marvin Jones is big bro. I love Marvin. I always brag and say, man, I can text a first-round draft pick whenever I want. You know what I'm saying? That's Marvin and my Uncle Bert here in San Diego.
I mean, you could do that with Matt Elam, too. You had him for a year or so.
Elam's a good dude. I just can't text him because he's on someone else's roster.
Are you not allowed to?
Nah.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
Oh, yeah. Elam's an awesome dude. Talk about somebody. I've said this to Elam's face before. Elam, I love the way you practice. I can tell you well coached because in practice, he literally has perfect technique. Every drill he does, every stance, everything he does was just perfect. And I'm like, yeah, you're pretty polished, dude. So it's funny you brought up Elam. Elam's a good dude.
That's fair for sure. So Cody alluded to a little bit. Obviously, you're coming off a loss. You're headed into the bye week, or you're in the bye week right now. So I'm curious, how do you handle that from a roster perspective? Are you giving the guys the week off to kind of heal up? Do you get together with them and watch the game tomorrow? Because obviously you got San Antonio coming up. You guys are going to play next week. How do you approach that situation?
So typically, we're not allowed to practice on the bye week. So a lot of these guys go home, which is great. I want them to go home. I encourage them if they can to, try to go see family. For example, we have a player that just had a baby, Trajan. So, good timing. He missed our Tulsa game, but he's able to be home, with his family, with his new son. So, circumstances like that, it's just great that our guys can get away. But Monday, the report time was don't be the last flight in town. Don't be getting here at midnight and, we got practice the next day, but, we'll have a check-in meeting Monday night. And then Tuesday we'll be back at it practicing. And we just got things to clean up on. We just got to make sure that we have a fast week of practice. Don't do anything out of the ordinary, but let's change some things up. I'm going to change a few things tempo-wise in practice. And yeah, we just got to get back on track. And if you guys ever hear me on the broadcast, I talk about throwing first pitch strikes, and that's just getting ahead in the count, on offense. And then, on defense, just preventing them from throwing first pitch strikes. Take a ball, get ahead in the count, we just got to do that stuff. And then, special teams wise, we got to get better in all three phases. But I have to remind our guys, I understand you don't wake up every morning being excited to be the L3 on kickoff. I get it. But if you get to the next level, you probably are going to get paid to be the L3 on kickoff before you're paid to be the CB1 or WR1. Like, you got to take that seriously. So, just focusing on all three phases, and especially that third phase, getting better effort from these guys. And, I got to put them in some better situations. That's pretty much what we got. I'm giving you all the cliches.
I love it. You're able to incorporate baseball and golf into all of your, cliches and everything about football.
Well, special teams are set pieces, by the way. That's what we call those.
I mean, there you go. There you go. Even more. Add soccer into it as well. One thing I do want to say with that, because you kind of touched on it a little bit when it comes to like special teams and players doing that. When a player is called up to the UFL or the CFL and that call is coming, do you already have someone like on speed dial that you're like, we need to get this guy in here? Or is it players that you ended up cutting from camp earlier in the season? How do you go about that? Like, I'm talking about like Josh Castro, where guys like that, where you're like, hey, they've got to try out with BC, or hey, this guy's got to try out with the UFL, or whatever the case could be. Take me through that.
Well, we have an example of a guy that went to the UFL this year. We signed Christoph Atkinson, big O lineman out of the University of Ohio, and he had gotten signed to the UFL after he signed with us. He went up there, didn't work out the way he wanted it to, and then we brought him back. Obviously, as an offensive lineman, hey, we love when an O lineman comes around, regardless if it was a guy got cut or we found a guy from an agent. So it was awesome to have Christoph. Obviously, we wish he would have made that team up there. But when a guy gets pulled up in season, typically it's like, yes, you may have a list of guys that you want to bring in, but I'm always like, I don't really keep a list of guys on the couch ready to go. Like, it's kind of a situation like, okay, well, we lost this guy. Let's get on the phone with our agents and stuff like that. It's just really hard to want a player that's just sitting around waiting for a call. So a lot of times it's not that simple. Like, yeah, maybe a guy that is at home training and waiting for the right opportunity. I think that's a little less. I think that happens a little less than people think. So a lot of times it's, hey, pick up the phone, start calling, and a lot of times the guy you want to bring in falls in your lap and you really didn't know. You just picked up the phone and called your people. And the CFL's been great to us, by the way. The CFL's been wonderful. If they take a guy from us, they are quick to be like, here's some awesome players for you. So we appreciate them as well.
Interesting. I was not aware of that. That's awesome. It makes sense from their perspective because obviously, I mean, the IFL, great transition point for CFL players. With the high motion and stuff that players just don't get in college here. So I think that's a great asset for them. So I wish teams utilized it a little bit more in the CFL personally, especially from quarterback, wide receiver perspectives, maybe even defensive backs. But I'm a little bit biased on there, huge CFL fan. So on that note, I don't want to take up a ton of your time, and we could really go on for days and days about all the different updates that have happened to the league just this offseason alone. But I'm curious, I mean, we talk about recruiting from different perspectives. I mean, how has, the Yahoo Sports deal, the overnight deal, and, obviously the FanDuel before that kind of fell apart, but how has the visibility of the league, increasing over the past couple of years helped recruiting when you're talking to some of those players that, might be reluctant to make the jump to indoor football?
Okay, I'm going to take your question and go a little more player friendly, if you don't mind. Us having this platform allows us to tell our friends at the next level, like, hey, we are on Yahoo Sports. Turn our game on. Like, check it out. Rather than, hey, download this app, sign up for this, pay this monthly fee. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a little easier. Like, Coach, I know you got Amazon Prime. Come check out such and such number, blah, blah, blah. It's just so much. It's just come a long way, and it's just so much more accessible for people to watch. Now, for players, yes, it's easier for them to kind of, watch our games and do all that for the same kind of things. It's just easier accessible. So it's just been great. And what I love most is I love our commentators at home. Coach and Steve, they were one of the only crews to kind of, come over with this new group of commentators. And I'm loving meeting newer people that we're bringing in that are work for NFL Network, that work for this, that work for that, all these different platforms. And it's really cool. I'm like, wow, these big time people actually care what I have to say in an interview. It's pretty cool. And I have told them, like, like my falls are open. So I might be looking to maybe do some of that stuff. And of course, as they're doing it, they're pouring into me. Oh, you'd be great at this, that, blah, 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 blah. I'm going to tell so-and-so. And it's just fun getting to know them and telling them like, hey, I think I have interest in doing what you're doing one day, and just kind of building relationships on not just coach commentator, but like, hey, I might be trying to work under you one day. What's up? So they've been great. And I love meeting them all. And especially when you get the guys that have been former coaches or players in our league, I promise you, I watch every one of those broadcasts. Every game Coach Riggs calls, Coach Bonner, I'm learning every single time from them.
That definitely makes sense. And I mean, I'm sure you got bigger fish to fry, but if you ever want to get in the podcast game, you know who to contact.
No doubt. Hey, hit me up whenever. I'm serious. Like, I'm serious. I'm around.
I appreciate that.
If you need to be if you need me to be your guys' Chuck Pagano, like Pat McAfee, man, you let me know. I'll be ready to go.
I love it. I love it. Cody, do you have anything else for Coach?
I just have one kind of, I want to say like a silly question or anything, but obviously Bay Area goes dormant, kind of your rival right there. You guys played multiple times throughout the season. That's suddenly gone. Who would you characterize as San Diego's biggest rival now?
Arizona and Vegas.
Do you think it's a three-way rivalry with that?
It's just like the games are always exciting. I think I lost to Arizona 9 times in a row, and then we got them the 10th. And then since then, it's just been a more even playing field. So, of course, you look at overall record, they've absolutely dominated us for years. But I think, I'll take pride in saying, since I've permanently taken the job, I feel like we've been more competitive against every one of our opponents. And that's not a knock at where, the people that were here before. It's just, as organizations, evolve, we get better. So I definitely think that San Diego and Arizona games are unbelievable. There's kind of a regional rivalry, between San Diego people and Arizona people, because, on holidays, you get a lot of people from the desert coming out to the beach. And it's just, there's a lot of that out here. So there's a lot of Arizona, San Diego, Southern California mix there. With Vegas, it's always an exciting game. I don't know what our overall record is against them, but we always have crazy shootouts that come down to, did he cross the plane? A goal line stop here, blah, 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 blah. It's always good games. But with that being said, we've had crazy games with every opponent in the West, and it's insane. I just love those two teams and going at it there. Tucson, absolutely love going to Tucson. I feel like I've coached enough games to say I coached one full season at Tucson, because I think I've played there 10 times as an opponent. So I love going there. I know their fans very well. And it's a great league. It's a great Western Conference, and it's fun.
Quick side note, looked it up. You are actually tied with Vegas 5-5.
Really?
So, yeah. I think the next time you guys play is going to break that tie, because the last previous meeting was the Western Conference Championship where they beat you to make it tie it up 5-5.
Thanks for the reminder.
Well, I'm not trying to remind you with that. I'm
just messing with you.
I know. If you want me to, I was like, I'm glad they won. I'm just kidding.
Oh man, that was a rough one. But hey, it's a blessing being able to play in those big games. Last year playing at Vegas, with us really kind of getting into this new era of our broadcasting. Jared from the league was, coming around a lot then, and I got to see where the league was going. And I met this Jared guy. He's like, yeah, I'm Todd Tryon's intern, and he just winks at me. I knew he was up to something, you know what I mean? I started, becoming cool with him, and he's done a great job along with Todd and the owners of just building this platform. And I really saw a lot of it last year with our playoff game at Arizona and then our playoff game at Vegas. The ball was rolling, and we're seeing what they got now. So sorry for the side note there, but that's really kind of where I started to see our league take that boom trajectory, was from those 2 playoff games.
Oh no apologies needed. In fact, we're big Jared Woodman fans here. I think he's done great things in the indoor and arena space in general, regardless of what league he's been involved with over the past couple of years. So, I'd love to see all the steps from the IFL. And I'm pretty much out of questions for you tonight. And honestly, this ran like about 20 minutes longer than I anticipated on it. So I don't want to take up too much of your time, Coach. Just want to wish you the best of luck the rest of the way for this season. And very, very appreciative of your time tonight. And you actually, kind of following up and making sure this happened for us. So I really appreciate that as well.
I appreciate you guys, man. And I'll tell you what, like a lot of times if we aren't familiar with like an Eastern Conference opponent and stuff like that, like, hey, every now and then your guys' breakdowns on teams, I'll turn it on, listen while I'm driving and just like, okay, you guys clearly have put more effort into research on this team than I have at this exact moment. If that's a new opponent, I swear to you, I'm not, as the kids would say, no cap. I will listen to you guys and talk about who you're highlighting because that's, oh, he thinks he's pretty good. He thinks he's pretty good. I do it. I'm just one of those guys. I appreciate your guys' platform, and I'm not going to waste your guys' time. I'm going to watch. I'm going to listen, and I support you guys however I can, man. So I just appreciate you guys, and whatever you need from me, let me know.
Appreciate it.
Definitely appreciate that for sure. Cody, anything else you want to throw out there?
No, I'm happy you took the time, answered the questions, and put your own spin on it. I mean, sometimes interviews can be kind of robotic and some of the generic questions, but it's nice to have that personality come out. You're a really, really good coach, and like I said, I know I have my doubts about San Diego, but hopefully you guys finally get to be the bride this year. I know I personally have Arizona, but prove me wrong.
But what's wrong with picking Arizona? You know what I'm saying? Like, I get it. That's a staple franchise. They do things right. Like, I've told Coach Guy on the phone before, like, when it came to me building a roster, he taught me build it from the middle. Like, and I learned that and I took it seriously. And hey, we don't have to like always hug each other to, appreciate each other's competition. Arizona's the real deal. Their fans are the real deal. And it's fun. Hey, it's always a safe pick. I'll say it like that.
I mean, you definitely don't have to hug. You can try and just push each other around and shove each other and stuff. But
KG's so funny. Hey, whenever I interact with Coach Guy, it's usually like I'm doing whatever stupid like running that I'm doing to try to do before the game and throwing whatever, and Coach Guy's walking his laps. And I usually catch Coach Guy as he's walking the curve in our end zone. I'll walk the curve with him. All right, Coach, see you after the game. Coach Guy's awesome, man. I do appreciate him, and Coach Davis, like both those guys, they're cool. It's fun for the league. I probably need to shut up, but I don't care. I just love being a part of it.
No, I don't think either of them are going to take too much offense to it. Coach Davis is an avid watcher of this show, so I'm sure he'll see this interview for sure, and I'm sure he'll get a good laugh out of it. He's a hell of a character, and I haven't had the pleasure of having many conversations with Coach Guy, but we're hopefully going to try and round that corner at some point here to get him on at some point because, man, if he's not the most entertaining interview I've ever seen on live TV, I'm not sure who is. So we'll definitely have to try and get him on here as well at some point. But, Coach, before you get out of here, is there anybody you want to shout out? Anything you want to say to the fans of San Diego or your family or anything like that?
Absolutely. When you asked me about Bay Area earlier, it's hard with them not being here because that was the closest to my family in Fresno. That was the closest team to them. So, my family, they love the indoor game. I appreciate them following my career and all that. And just the fans of San Diego, but also the fans of our game, indoor football. Like, I just appreciate all you guys. Without fans, without people showing up to our games, I don't have a job. Without people like you guys spreading word about our game, like the platform wouldn't be as big. So I just appreciate everybody involved, and I'm grateful to be a part of it. And there's a reason I don't update my resume every year because I love where I'm at and I love what I do.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I think that's a sentiment that everybody can enjoy. So on that note, thank you once again, Coach. Appreciate that time. And we'll go ahead and end this interview right there.
Hi, everyone. This is TJ from Shady Sports Network. I am excited and proud to be the first one to announce that we as a network are introducing a digital magazine, official one called Shady Sports Magazine. As many of you know, the bread and butter of our network is covering arena and indoor football, and that's exactly what this magazine is going to be about. It is going to be the first ever arena and indoor football central magazine, all the leagues included. You're going to also have a bunch of articles in there about past teams, going down memory lane. It's just going to be a one-stop shop for the already diehard fan. It's going to be an easy spot to get all of your info, no matter which league or however many of the leagues you may watch. And for the new fan or the casual fan, it may help you turn into a diehard fan now, because you're going to be able to get all the info super quick and easy, sent directly into your email. We will announce in the upcoming weeks when the inaugural issue is going to be released. And believe me, we will definitely keep you updated on our shows and network as a whole on how to sign up for that list to get it. Email for free every month. Thank you to the fans, and thank you for everyone watching. As always, like, follow, share, subscribe, and most important, enjoy the show and keep watching. Thank you, and see you guys later.